Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team pick. Radiant team pick.
Bang.
Radiant team pick.
SMG, they love to pick it in the last pick of this first phase if the enemy team doesn't have a great way to be able to deal with a lot of lane shove. You know, it's normally a counter to a hero like a Bane or an Ogre or something like that that just isn't quite fast enough at being able to deal with it. But yeah, good job by TNC from removing that X Factor from the pool and picking up their own X Factor in the Tiny once again.
I was so excited to see this Tiny again. It looked really good yesterday. And I want to know if it was just played well with the lineup and the matchup they had, or if it's something that they've been practicing a lot and can work.
The only difference I see here is that they picked Queen of Pain instead of Death Prophet. I think they opened Tiny Death Prophet yesterday. Potentially, it might just be because SMG is a team that plays Broodmother, and they didn't want to get like picked it on 8 or last pick of first phase.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, and well, at least slipping through to second phase here as we do get the Lena closing out that that first phase. So it might mean that this Queen of Pain needs to be forced into role instead. It certainly is a good amount of damage in the laning phase, so it's going to stop a hero, particularly a melee hero on Team S mid one, from having a good time in the lane if it is going to be the Queen of Pain against it, because swap into Lena, it feels a little bit awkward, right? Lena can most of the time just outrange you, you can spam it out of the lane very quickly, you don't have quite as much potential to be able to shove that lane as well, and it makes life a little bit challenging. So I like this, and as well, I mean, Moon going back to like TI9, I think he was the best Lena in the world at the time. Certainly a comfort to him.
Can be like a little bit controversial here. I was listening to a cast earlier on Europe West Games, I think. Either that or NA. Cinderin was casting and he was talking about the matchup, and he was saying that he actually thinks Queen of Pain is favored in the Lena matchup because he was commentating the players at the time. I really wish I could remember exactly who it was, but I was like half asleep. And the Lena was winning the lane, and he was saying, he was attributing it actually to like the Lena just playing better. He was like, I think Queen of Pain wins this matchup, but this Lena player is playing really well and making it hard for Queen of Pain to play. And I've kind of seen the same thing. I've seen like Lenas as well be able to kind of body Queen at the start, but then Queen like kills her because she's very vulnerable as a hero, and Queen with like the help of say a Tiny can get like a lot of kills with them together, right? Honestly, the Lena I don't think is like super secure here, and I think TNC have a lot of play potential to kill her.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they pick, it depends, right? Like if it is going to be that Queen of Pain mid, maybe they pick a position 3 survivable, meaning that the Tiny can make that early rotation. You can punish the Lena before she gets any kind of movement. Is obviously a big plus, having no natural escape potential for yourself. Be on Team SMG, of course, to have that understanding in mind of, okay, that Tiny is invisible in the lane, we got to make sure we're calling it out and making sure our TPs are ready to be able to negate a lot of that burst damage, perhaps with a Nightmare.
Death Prophet also getting banned out, definitely not going to be coming through. They might be a little bit worried about this new Death Prophet out.
I'd be a little bit worried, personally. It's, I mean, they're going to go the Treant Protector instead, which, you know, it's fairly solid at being able to secure. They don't have great tower push right now outside of the Lena. So, you know, it's going to slow things down a little bit, perhaps make things a bit more skirmishy as opposed to the macro. But when you talk about skirmishes, Tidehunters just front lines and survive a lot of the time. But, well, on the Queen of Pain and the Tiny, who at least have a good amount of burst magic damage to be able to.
Pepe's also just a really good player.
Yeah.
10 seconds remaining.
I'm happy to see him on it. I think right now they actually don't. I feel like they lack damage to kill Tide if he gets like a hood first item and just sits in front of like his safe lane tower. I don't really see like TNC to me don't look like they have enough damage to kill him right now. I think pushing towers is probably really hard with this support duo. They're kind of like low, I would say.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It might just be that TNC need adjust their strategy and say, look, obviously we want to take this tower right now, but we're not going to be able to. Let's just wait until Tiny has another couple of levels and might have that burst needed to kill the Tide Hunter in combination with a Quap ulti.
Yeah, I think SMG need...
Lion.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like they need some type of jump, though, because I think you just pick a range share with Tree, and it's, like, really easy to play.
Snap pick on the TA as well, obviously. Very comfortable with that. I feel like they've still got a decent amount of flexibility as to whether this TA is going to be 1 or mid. And same sort of thing with the Queen of Pain. Could be mid or could...
10 seconds remaining.
TNC, they're in a pretty decent spot here in draft
5
phase.
seconds remaining.
Also got that last pick overall, so quite interesting to see how they want to round things out, with SMG also most likely needing mid-one's hero to be able to close things out. So what are they lacking right now on TNC that SMG might be able to exploit? They have decent catch once the Tiny has the Blink Dagger. Queen of Pain, of course, is able to jump in and do a lot of damage, but it's not really that stun, that burst that it's able to follow up afterwards. So might be able to get away with more of the range style of hero that can, not allow someone to just ride on top of our Ranger or something.
Yeah, I think if TNC are trying to pick a carry here, then they should pick core like Drow.
Luna's
Medusa.
still in the pool as well, right?
Radiant
Lena,
team
incredibly
back.
strong at being able to push.
Yeah, I think if they're picking an though, it's kind of just either they're gonna just pick to counter mid one's hero, so I can't say exactly what they should pick, or they can just try and enable what they have. Like if you're trying to make TA stronger, maybe a Slardar. I mean, Zhao Yu's kind of he could probably play Viper again. He played it before into Tide, and it's like pretty good.
I think it just depends, right? They're just going to be getting rid of the big things that are going to stop their style, and obviously they think the Wraith King is going to them to have that little bit of a ghost push. If this TA is going to be now the position 1, they get rid of the Razor, but it feels like they're just banning some good overall heroes because, again, they have the last pick overall. They're going to be able to respond to it, and I feel like they're going to be able to be pretty confident with what they can counter this.
10 seconds remaining.
Mars is gone, the Tide is gone. Beastmaster, Brewmaster, Pango, Razor, Night Stalker.
I mean, they want team fight, right? But you don't have to always just go into hard team fight. You can just create like a ball of heroes that are just too fight into. So, like Queen of Pain and TA are really good at doing that. TA has Death Zone, she gets her Aegis, like because that's what she does. And then Queen of Pain is like really, really strong, especially like 20-minute mark is probably like TNC's timing right now without seeing their full lineup. Like I think it's really hard for SMG to play into that without Ravage. Maybe with Ravage it's like fine because they do have like a lot of burst in Lena and Lion.
They've only picked the Terrorblade once on it.
5 seconds remaining.
I believe it was for a win, so it's one bonus. I was talking about it yesterday that the position 1s these days need to have a crazy amount of flexibility with the they can pick. You got to have that pocket strat still ready to bring out, and well, Terrorblade feels pretty solid so far against what TNC have here, and as well with all of those offlane heroes that we mentioned before being banned out in the Slardar, doesn't feel the greatest against the laning stage.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, so even later on it's going to be a little bit more challenging. So the question now remains, what does TNC do about this? I mean, a good reason for that Brewmaster ban for sure.
And Pango, yeah, really good bans. Mid one played TB in his last series against Execration. He had a flawless game and did not die once. Fun fact.
Yeah, and also not a hero that encourages diving.
All
so
right,
it's
Darkseer, Darkseer. Come on, Zhao Yu. Come on, Zhao Yu.
I was kind of thinking you're going to suggest the Darkseer because later on, of course, very strong against the Terrorblade. I guess they've got the Lion though.
Yeah, but it's like what you're doing in that lane is like Tiny's just dragging waves over. You're not actually laning. It's not like about trying to kill TB. I mean, you can try because usually you just like pull and pull until you get levels and then you dive them with like Glyph.
They need another stun of some sort though. Like, are they going to be able to burst this Terrorblade?
Let's go! I love Darkseer so much!
The most energy I've ever seen you have.
I love that. Darkseer's one of my favorite heroes.
Yeah.
Whenever I see a Luna, TV, whatever, I'm like, easy game, let's go. And I think like you pair it with a melee 4 like Tiny, like Nyx, like all these heroes. I love seeing like Tundra, they're a Darkseer team, so I love watching their games. You pair it with that and yeah, it's great. So we'll probably see them like just playing behind the tower. Like Darkseer just hates laning. You just mess up the lane as much as you can till you can dive, then you take over the lane when you have like 4 points in Ion and like the carry is just 4.
It's even a great way, well, not a great way, but it's extra magic damage that you might need to take out Raging Potato as well on that Tide Hunter. You know, he's not going to be able to block up a lot of that damage with the Iron Shell getting on top of him. And I was saying they might need a little bit of an extra stun, but you talk about late game, you talk about those team fights. Darkseer, probably one of the best offlaners in the entire game for that purpose. But for me, it still feels like a lot of this success is going to be on the back of Playhard's Tiny. We saw how successful he was with being able to break up these team fights, find one hero kind of off on their own, toss him back, like basically to be slaughtered by the rest of the team. So see if he's able to do it again.
I'm looking forward. You've got me hyped for this Darkseer pick. And maybe this is going to be TNC's chance to get another win on the board. But your casters for this game are going to be the kings of SEA themselves, MLP and John. Please take it away.
We are back for the SCA DPC Division 1, and it is MLP, Dota, and John X5. John Natty obviously just flattering us there with the introduction, but so how you doing?
Doing great, Mike. This should be an exciting match. You know, TNC has steadily improved. SMG, we heard it in the pre-game interview. They were very confident about coming in here, and TNC, Young God, knows that confidence is one thing SMG has a ton of. So let's see if they'll be able to punch down, as he said, kind of knock them off their pedestal and prove a point here. Again, TNC has been slowly improving. I love this draft coming out from TNC. So much excitement over the Darkseer. It's Young God safe lane quap, which we don't see too often in Southeast Asia. It has been popping off in other regions. So I'm keen to see what they do with that as well on TNC's end, giving Yoe that win condition to TA on the mid, and just kind of trying to snowball off from there. It gives TNC some good timings to play with, but you still can't underestimate SMG. This is a very clear-cut draft from them, you know, not very, and maybe not as explosive or as exciting and different as TNC's, but when SMG does play these more bog standard drafts, they tend to just focus on the fundamentals and really try to knock it out individually in an individual player wise focus there for them.
And look at this, John. I mean, Pythium once again giving us the goods, John. Shout out to Pythium, our observer, of course, giving us that beautiful showcase view of the map. You wouldn't stop, John, so I couldn't give you a shout out while you were throwing it. There you go. Thank you for that. I was about to test you with the introduction, but, you know, I trusted you, and he's delivered it again, John. He's delivered it again. Nevertheless, SMG in an interesting position on the left side of the map, already in that radiant triangle. Potentially a level 1 fight here against TNC. Zhao Yu and Yoe are hanging around. Fu's going to try and move in, but it's like that is going to kind of give away the positioning of SMG and TNC. They don't seem too interested in this level 1 team fight. We'll see if they try to make the rotation later on, but it does seem like it's probably still going to be a 2-2 trade on those bounties.
TNC taking position on the right side of the map, looking to just secure themselves a 2-2. Level 1 fight for SMG is a lot better. They've got a lot of stuns, a lot of AoE to toss out, so I don't think it's a fight that TNC necessarily wants to force out, especially since most of that control coming out would be from play hard with either the avalanche or toss. So they're going to play it safe. They get a good D ward as well on the sentry, knowing that the movement's there. So they open up that small camp for Yoe to farm down line for his mid matchup, just allowing that TA more resources to really snowball here.
Speaking of that matchup, you've got Yoe there against Moon, so the TA vs Lena matchup. I'd say it might be rather difficult here for Yoe, right? Even as the TA, sure you can rely on that refraction to kind of give you that extra HP or rather just armor, but Moon's just going to be able to whack it away and eventually get those layers of refraction off. And speaking of right now, top lane, Zhao Yu, he's the one in trouble, and he's going to drop straight off the bat. Fu able to pick up first blood and just immediately rotates down bot lane.
Nice sneaky tri-lane start for SMG. We've seen them do this a few times as well throughout multiple tournaments. This is something they love to do. Secure that first blood, get the momentum going for themselves, get that initial space out for mid 1, and just secure his lane. So a great movement out, already shutting down the Darkseer. Xiao Yu still in this lane should still be fine. As mentioned by the panel, this should be a farming lane. Expect Playhard to maybe go for some pulls down the line and maybe leverage some of that magic damage as he just runs up to mid 1, getting a good amount off. So there's still some spacing mid 1 needs to do, especially when Metamorphosis is down. I think overall you'd be very happy for SMG's side if it does just go down to farming. Mid 1 might not be able to look for early laning kills with Roger, but you will still get that early start you want from the Terrorblade, kind of just ignoring the Darkseer to do his own thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Roger, he'll just hold them back. Mid 1, he should be just fine. That was bot lane. Fu getting dangerously low there on the line, but he's going to be able to sound himself up. In the meantime, the Raging Potato's going to have to take a lot of damage here from Young God and Febby. Be just fine. to walk away as the Tide though. Then talk to me about the bot lane though. I mean, it's obviously a very different lane here for Arfu and Raging. I'd say that mostly due to the fact that they are up against Korean. He's just hellish to go up against that lane on stage. Is there anything in particular they can do to just try and avoid this amount of damage? If they hold that thought, it's a very nice spike up from Arfu to hold the damage. But Young's gonna blink in, trying to chase down Raging, but now the turnaround. Raging's gonna try and go for the man fight. Maybe he does very fire up. Arfu's still going for it. But oh, what a gets a self cancellation blind. Oh, I don't know if I want to call that luck or skill, John, but Arfu, he's done something special there. And they do end up killing off Febby.
And it's a good takedown. Wasting the resources of TNC, that's a lot of farm. Young God kind of ignored as well, jumping in very deep to try to look for that kill. And the aggression coming out from TNC is very well calculated, but you do have to still respect just how much durability Raging Potato has. The Anchor Smash removes a lot of Febby's right-click trade potential. Like, that's where the Treant really shines, right? He runs up, he gets you early Orb of Venom, slows you down, gets 95 damage per hit in. Tide kind of mitigates a lot of that. So... as the lane goes on, this becomes much more manageable for Raging, and I think it's just patience. Like, at level 3, you should be fairly well protected here, especially from Febby. You still have to worry about the Quap. Young God is going for a more aggressive laning build, going for the Shadow Strike, focus 2-1 right now. No points in Scream, as he's just focusing by slowly right-clicking the creep wave down. Not like the Tide can really stop that. So you do have to, again, just watch the Quap. Watch that movement in. As long as Raging has enough mana for the Anchor Smash and you do have a saving stun from Arfu, you can kind of fight back like that.
I mean, right now we need to keep eyes on the mid lane. You look at Yoe. You look at Yoe against Moon right now, and it's not looking like great news here for Yoe. I mean, he's got the refraction up. He's got 4 stacks of the absorb, but Moon's got that Light Strike array available. So if he does end up landing that stun, he might be able to get through the layers of refraction and eventually just commit that level 2 Dragon Slave. And that should just be enough to get Yoe down. And that would be very detrimental to TNC here if they do lose this mid lane so early on. But Moon, we'll see if he can get it done. He just needs that stun to land. Looks like he won't bother trying. Yoe, he'll be forced to walk away with no HP available, no bottle charges, but he does have a banner to go back to. Meanwhile, top lane, a bit of damage output, but nothing to write home back. Never mind, Roger, he's been tossed back here by Playhard. Maybe they can secure a kill here onto the Bane, but not without the Nazi. Xiao Yu, in fact, never mind Xiao Yu, because Playhard. He's the one in trouble. Mid one. He'll join in and get the job done.
Now that's a pretty painful loss for TNC, because not only do they lose it here, that was an Iron Shell and Xiao Yu. He doesn't use it in the creep wave, so he's just forced to run all the way back, no mana. We'll have the TP back to base though, and I guess one thing you get from that for TNC is that Playhard can rotate mid. So bottle topped up for Yoe, level 2 on Playhard. They couldn't make a move, but they don't really have a good way of gap closing here, and that does force a response from SMG to bring Roger in as well.
It does. Of course, mid lane, Roger. He'll take that water and evade that was available. Playhard, heal himself. Too big of a deal though, just trying to deny it away from these mid laners as Yoe now going to cop so much damage in Arfu. He's trying to sneak up from the side with a very long range Earth Spike, but he does not connect. But you've got to love that about Arfu, John. He always gives it a crack. Even if it looks way too out of range, he will try.
He's always looking for that potential in mid, and he's still hanging around here, Mikey.
I mean, why the hell not? Refraction's gone again. This time Earth Spike is going to land, and he's got the Hex follow-up, and that'll be Moon to take another kill rather than the first one for himself. Zarfu making a great rotation over, and that'll be your mid lane, just one now for Moon.
He's got the CS lead, he's got a ton of denies. Yoe has been investing a lot in getting D-wards off from his supports to open up the small camp. He hasn't been really able to clear it out, at least stack it up in between waves as well. There is a bit of movement out from Playhard. They do manage to find the Bane at the least. But that's the first kill for TNC on a support. SMG's managed to cut off a lot of heads. Their laning starts really good. You've got this really strong, almost a free lane for mid one, because it's what you expected. It's almost just going to be a farm trading lane. It's not really trading though with your Darkseer sitting at 11, so it's pretty much a free time for mid one to go into that Falcon Blade, to secure himself the stats to start running.
Raging finally does end up going down to that bot lane, and I was about to say it's about time Raging Potato went down. Just so much harassment being thrown his way this whole laning stage, and he's managed to survive long enough. The point where he's gone to that level 4, almost level 5 mark, but who finally punish him. God is able to now just freely come up that bot lane on that Quap. Still, and we go again. Fu now gonna get caught up, but just TP. No way to cancel. In the meantime, top lane they found Xiao Yu. That'll be a Darcy kill. 4 mid, 1.5 Fu. Another nice setup here from the line, and he's just already doing such a spectacular job across the map, John. He's been involved in 4 out of the 5 kills already.
And it just reminds me of his Earthshaker plays, right? Like, it's the same timings. He goes into mid by 4 minutes. He sets up. He's always looking for a stun opportunity to block someone off. And they just build off of it really well in SMG. They just know each other's movement so well, know each other's timing so well, that they can bounce off it a lot easier. Whereas for TNC, again, there's that aspect of them not being together as long. They have improved in comms, but the execution is falling a bit flat. Like, the lane that's really hurting is Playhards. Playhard and Xiao Yu have just not been able to get off and pressure mid 1 as much as they'd want to. That's going to be slower timings for your Darkseer, a slower blink timing for Playhard, and gets tough there.
Might move in again, Playhard. Gonna be alright this time around, but Roger able to set up with the Nightmare, but decides better of it. That Playhard still dancing around, but won't go too far. Just leave it be this time around, as he'll go back to stack for the team. Speaking of stack, like stack may be made here for our TA in the mid lane, the bot lane, Raging Potato. Gonna find himself in trouble again with the Sonic Wave out, but more than enough from Young God. Another nice kill here for TNC. Another kill there for the Quap.
Nice clean kill for Young God, so he's also having a pretty swell time on bot, having a bit more CS as well in comparison to mid 1, but much less nice, not as important. So you can kind of start building up in the Quap. The early timings are lining up. Kai-san just going to be coming out. Issue is he's actually lagging behind CS. Sorry, I was staring at Yoe. So the kill does help accelerate. They are moving the numbers again onto Febby though.
Yep, another nice setup by Arfu. That'll be Raging to take that one as Moon. Probably not going to be very happy about that. Febby, he'll have a quick disconnection to have a bit of a discussion with the team, Jonathan. Ask what the hell's going on. Nevertheless, though, 3-6 now with a very slight net worth lead the way of SMG.
That's a great start. I mean, your Terrorblade's pretty much enabled from lane. Your Linus also won out really hard, as you'd sort of expect, especially against the TA. Yoa still has a long way to go in getting his initial items up. You've got pretty heavy farm needed from TNC. Not really heavy, but more sensitive, timing-sensitive items, right? Like your Darkseer wants to have that mech up and running fast. Down the line, you'll need the Ags. Your Tiny Blink should be lined up by maybe 12 to 15 minutes, but it's a slow start for Playhard as well. So all of those items are necessary for TNC to kind of get that team fight in. And all of that is kind of stalled out just from how the lanes have gone. So I think TNC has to be ready to start securing their jungle a little bit more, start building up way more stacks here to set up. The side of SMG has been emphasizing those early jungles. Like, there's still some good blocks here on the triangle as well, just preventing any sort of build-up from Playhard. And in every single stack you miss is more farm for Yoa, just not getting out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You see Playhard trying to make some rotations mid, but he's already going to be able to get much done. And Xiao Yu now being chased down by the reflection of mid 1. Roger's going to... Oh, that's a great illusion block out from mid 1. He blocks the pathing, so Xiao Yu has to walk the long way. But it won't matter because Roger was unable to get a Nightmare off. He ran out of mana, just barely. And that'll cost them the kill here. Nevertheless, I mean, you've still got free farming TB. You've still got Moon top of the net worth board, so I'd say you can't really be upset if you're SMG.
You're still really happy. Like, you're just preventing TNC from working the lanes out the way they want them to, and you're getting a lot of farm. They're making moves on Young God again.
They are. Young God, there's your Ravage. He will not play any games. Don't, would you believe it? Unbelievable. Meanwhile, top lane, Febby, he does end up dropping a Roger. Xiao Yu trying to find a trade, but is unable to find anything on this Darkseer. It's SMG continue to dominate across the map.
They're just working across every lane really well, getting all the kills they need. They do blow Ravage for that kill down bot. Very worthwhile to find Young God. Your Quap is still sort of struggling, and I don't really see much room for the Quap to farm. Like, the jungle's just shut down. They've had to invest so many sentries to open up the triangle. SMG's getting good work in that on the bot tower, trying to get a push in with Moon around. He's the main right click for the tower, so you are up against a tree, and there's no points of living armor here, so there's no stall mechanic for that push anywhere.
Certainly not. I mean, Febby, he's going to try and lag it out, but there's only so much you can do as a Treant Protector right now, and well, there's really not too much he can do. It's Roger top lane, Roger top, not really much he can do either, as he does get taken up by the Iron Shell of Xiao Yu. Nice little pick up there from TNC, and they'll try to trade T1 towers, but I mean, quite frankly, John, they don't really have a great draft for pushing. And raging on the tide, he should be able to successfully just hold on this. So Young God, he's going to try, move in and get some damage in and get play hard and move into bird, go in with the Iron Shell, try to burn him down slowly, or even drop the wall, and with the Sonic Wave, they'll have him up. Nobody rotating to help out poor old Raging Potato.
Nice pickoff coming out from TNC. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Mike, very slow progress in the tower push, so I don't see them actually getting an objective off the back of that, while SMG just manages to play bot. Moon has a lot of farming space here in the jungle, lots of laning creeps as well, not much threat coming out from just the Treant to stop him. And TNC isn't really ready to punish that because they blew all their big ultimates up top. They're going to have to commit for that push, so they'll eventually get there. They've got
Xiao Yu. Unfortunate Xiao Yu there, John. You better love what he was trying to do, but very unfortunate timing for him.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Sometimes just doesn't line up, looking for the Nye. Good little kill coming out for Roger. That does buy the space out. Clear the top tier 1, so map control is kind of even, but you do get a nice pickup on SMG. Scoreboard 5-9, less than 1k lead, so the cores are still relatively close to each other. Like Yoa, despite that slower start, is still getting the jungle opened up for him. Just have to watch SMG as they keeping up the space.
They've got a Fiend script, John. He'll move in and set up, and Young God just way out of position. Meanwhile, mid lane, Rain to be chased down. Ravager's out though. They might go for a fight. 5-2 on a double Earthquake again. They'll commit the overgrowth. They'll keep trying. Play hard. How deep can you go, Sword? He'll get fingered up. Raging. He'll finally end up dropping. Very messy though from TNC to say the least. And in the end, first. I'm not sure if Raging really cares for that death.
It's a kill you'll take, because that actually does stop the push as well from TNC being man down at home.
Maybe this time around has gone too far into the trap. We'll slow him up and Febby, he'll move in. You've still got to help around. That new wall is there. It's a decent one after he's trapped up a mid one. He'll rotate in as well. Maybe they do want the fight. They want Febby first. They're not going to be able to find him. So Yoa, he'll move back in. Onto him, that's a lot of damage up for Moon. Has he gone too far? It does seem like he has. TNC does take down the leaner. And with that, they might be able to slowly move into that mid tier 1 tower. And this kind of draft that you are expecting to be rather aggressive. He is starting to make their moves. They even go for more now. Roger, he's been caught up on the main, but after's there. Sonic Wave out is going to confirm. That's going to be enough. They'll take Roger. They'll go back to the mid tier 1. You've got to be happy with that if you're TNC.
It goes back to Raging Potato using the Ravage to stall out to find that kill and play hard. I think that's what made that engagement really open up there for TNC. There was no counter control from SMG. You could maybe line up a good Earth Spike from Afu, but your big AoEs really in the Ravage and just wasn't there. Great use of the Vac wall from Xiao Yu to open that up. Tier 1 still stands, so I don't think SMG is going to mind all too much as long as their Terrorblade can keep farming up like this, and mid 1 still has really good control of his triangle. No vision there from TNC to really cancel out that farm. At the same time, TNC can kind of pull back, maybe wait for their own item timings here. Yoa is inching closer towards that Desolator as well. And once you do have that timing, you can take a fight and then even think about the Rosh next. Like, Roshan doesn't last too long with the Deso up on TA. And you can start running around, get a second life, and force more fights from that.
You absolutely can. Oh, they're gone. It's going to be Roger. It's going to be Roger. Easy pick off there for play hard. They kill onto that Bane. Mind you, they are still yet to find that mid-tier 1 tower. But now though, they've found Raging Potato, but he's going to turn around onto play hard. Fighting off that power room, but it's illusion. Moon already dropping so darn low. He's going to be able to run his way out, and now the Ravage comes in Raging. Febby's already gone. Play hard, wait a second. Can they find more? They'll keep trying to go on for the tide, but TNC's getting a double stun up by Moon, and now Xiao going to drop, and that'll be a third for Moon as a triple kill comes out. Oh, that is not what you want to see if you're a TNC fan. And that's generally what happens when you fight into high ground jump.
And it's a really clumped spot. Ravage was ready to go this time from Raging. The counter control was there. It was a good attempt with the wall, but didn't quite line up in the way they wanted to, and they didn't have vision up. Like they just lacked information in that area, very easily punished by SMG because of the high ground effect, as you mentioned, Mike. And TNC's got to maybe temper in some of that aggression. They are finding some momentum here and there. They're
Radiant's
very even in game 10-14, with less than 1k gold going away of SMG, mainly on mid one. But you still haven't hit your item spikes. There's still no blink and play hard to gap close a little bit better. There's still no blink and Xiao Yu as well to get a bigger VAP wall. I think those are going to be key components for them to really follow through in these fights. Without that, you're mainly relying just running up with play hard, maybe finding someone who's out of position without that blink, or using Febi's overgrowth to get wide AoE control. And every single time these fights, if Febi's caught out, you lack the control. You don't have overgrowth, you don't even have AoE slow of Nature's Grasp, and suddenly it becomes a lot harder to manage how SMG moves around these engagements.
That's certainly true, John. Still a very close matchup. I mean, less than 1k net worth lead for SMG. TNC still well and truly in a very even game here against this SMG side, as they found our fool again. Roger's going to be right by him, but they'll smoke around the long way. Around for a much bigger target, say mid one. Get further down the bot lane, mid one. Oh, he stuck around a bit too long, I think, John. This might cost him, though he does have the manta up, but I'm not sure it's going to be that tanky. It's going to be the Sonic Wave. No, it's going to make it in time. Overgrowth is not going to do enough. Turns out the manta does tank him up enough, John. Mid one, he's fine.
Yeah, and that's heavy commitment from TNC this time. 2 big ults down, no overgrowth, no sonic wave. Your burst damage is kind of gone for the next ganks for a pretty long time. So I think TNC's got to kind of lay back and build up, which opens up a push for SMG mid if they want to kind of force this tower. Living armor is up, but it's not really that high level. It's still level 2. So you can kind of just force your bodies forward here.
Absolutely. You've got that Ravage available, so Raging, he can move in for the team on the front lines, and Xiao Yu, he might be spotted soon. Raging's looking at that angle. He doesn't have a blink, but he's almost baiting, inviting them forward. They're trying to blow him up in time. Now the Ravage comes out. He's got 5 targets with the Ravage. The blow off in the form of Xiao Yu, but they're going to jump in, swap. But who they get? They get first. For the side of SMG, but now play hard. He'll be chased up back. Never mind, play hard. They want young God. Go back to the tiny instead. Gotta be play hard God. Moon, he barely runs out with his life intact. And it's still seeming like a pretty decent win here for SMG. Mind you though, John, they have left the mid tier 1. But it is down anyway, so who the hell cares?
They take the objective, they take the fight. Really great use of a Ravage from Raging. They force so many bodies from TNC onto the Tide without really having control. Like, it's so hard to burst them down with a PUD. You really need the Sonic Wave to just eat through that magic protection because it's pure damage, and it's still on cooldown because of that last engagement onto mid one. So they've kind of got to pick and choose their fights here on TNC. They do at least have the blink now on Playhard off the back of that, so they've got an access point, they've got a wave starting these fights now with the Tiny. It's got to really show its impact here to ensure TNC kind of gets some momentum back.
Tier 1 mid, they're going to drop TNC, just allowed to take a free. They moved on. They're going to go on Roger. He does take the DD route for himself, but it is going to cost him his life. You've got to ask yourself whether it's really worth getting that power route, for the life of the Bane. But I suppose had he not done that, TNC may have been able to rush Roshan. Arthur though, going to move in onto the top of play hard. He's going to be there with a great avalanche toss. Gotta be one to go. Moon, he's forced to pop that BKB to run. And now perhaps you can go Roshan. No Arthur, no BKB on Moon. It never seems like there's been a better time here for TNC.
This is the timing. They've had the Deso for a while. They can easily just go in after that fight. No Ravage to come through as well from Raging for at least half a minute, so plenty of time for TNC to kind of try to get that done, but they'll try to be sneaky about it, Mike. Leaving Yoa in alone, going for a Smoker's Tree here.
So much on the line in this game. Number one. Obviously, relegation for TNC is something they really want to avoid. And SMG still looking for that spot for the major that could or could not be happening. We don't know yet, John. Something's happening. Yo, he'll take the Aegis for himself. Meanwhile, bot lane, did you tell the rotators play hard? He's out with the smoke, but he has to blink up. Moon has been spotted, but the avalanche will be there. Into the Sonic Wave. Moon though, he's still alive, and now the Fiend grip. Roger. He saved the day for now, but Moon, he is still a man on the run, and he is not going to make it. Roger now, he might just be the second sacrifice, and he will be. Xiao Yu to pick up a double.
Yeah, it's just really the effects of these blinks, Mike. Having the blink on Darkseer, having the blink on Tiny makes it so much easier for TNC to find these vulnerable targets, to find that squishy. With Lena, just instantly burst her and get the control off, because you've got the follow-up from your Quap. You don't have the blink in the TA. Well, actually, you do have the blink in the TA now, so everyone can just jump in. That's 4 out of 5 heroes who have mobility now. Only Febby. No, Febby has. They all have blinks now on TNC, so it becomes really easy to force these fights. Whereas for SMG, Raging doesn't have a blink yet. You don't really have a highly mobile hero with mobility spells. Lena can get pretty fast, but it's not quite the same effect. So I think it's now time for SMG to kind of maybe go back, wait a little bit until they get, say, a Shadow Blade up on Lena. At least allow Moon to sneak around, get an LSA off, and set up for the team to follow through from that. Because in these bigger engagements, TNC with her huge AoE control is just getting a lot more, and they're finding those pickoffs while SMG's kind of ingredients splitting up. They do have the BKB up and running on mid one, so he can kind of join in, and SMG's going to smoke off of that.
They've also got the Ags up on Raging. One of my personal favorite Aghanims. You can buy the AoE Gush. Very, very annoying to deal with throughout these team fights, and just great for overall split pushing these lanes. As mid lane up, is to make the jump in. They've got play hard to start. Being committed with the Laguna Blade. Play hard. He is still alive. Or even throw the Fade Grenade in just in case. But Roger, in the meantime, he's going to kind of yo-where. Still don't set up. Onto Zhao Yu they go. Get a second. SMG still more than happy to fight. They've got the Ravage up on Raging. They want to try and get committed. Food trying to find an angle. We'll get the vision on Yoe, but is still able to blink away. So SMG, they can go off that mid-2 tower. Aegis or not on TNC, they do not give a crap. And it seems like they're now going to get away with this.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah, without the Darkseer, their AoE control's really just stuck.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle tower has fallen.
We're gonna try, but that Ravage still very, very scary to go into. Also a DD rune up at top rune spot, and Raging's gonna spot that out first. So he'll take it for himself. Still with the smoke, they are rotating down bot where Moon is hanging around, but he seems to notice that something is wrong here. Back off into the tree line, and it does seem like TNC's already given up. So the smoke, it's gonna amount to nothing. And again, you've still got Ravage, you've got a Shadow Blade up now for Moon. I imagine SMG want to go again. And they do. They've smoked up those 3. Mind you, you don't have the Metamorphosis, but you do at least have the BKB on mid one. So he can at least just try and melee them if he needs to with that BKB charge. They do start to move in. There's a toss up. Who they got? It's going to be Arthur again, but the Ravage is there. Mid one, who are you hitting, sir? It's going to be no one. They need to run right now. As TNC, they have the upper hand. Baby's moving for more with the Meld Strike Raging. He is dropping scarily low. With the Scream out, that might be enough. He's on 304 HP right now, John. But he does have the Hood of Defiance, so he should be just fine.
Yeah, Scream of Pain. 375 of the amplification from the Kai Sanj. But as you said, Hood of Defiance should negate a lot of that. So I think Raging should be fine. They could maybe get a couple of right clicks. Shadow Strike's going to be back up. Unfortunate disconnect timing. I guess that should help SMG just a little bit more to get their bearings and pull back. Side of TNC, you still have their big spells, but there's no one really to catch up. Like if they maybe somehow jump mid one, that could be one place to drop everything, drop the overgrowth, drop the wall, and Vac just ensure a kill onto the TB. Get going from there. But yeah, looks like TNC, unfortunately, internet issues, but I'll let you into a secret, Mike. I had some internet issues as well. I actually disconnected for a moment there, which I'm glad. Did you really? I did. I dropped off. Discord was working. My in-game disconnected. So, you know, it is what it is with the Philippine internet. It's a bit wonky sometimes, Mike.
You've got very good at pretending that you can see what's going on. Thank you, Pithy. We do appreciate the view right now. There's a lovely Tidehunter with an octopus on his head. John, speaking of nice images, I couldn't help but notice, because considering you love NFTs so much, Young God's got the Bored Ape Yacht Club as his in-game profile picture. Have you noticed that, Jim? Do you like it?
Yes, I pointed it out to you, right? And I had a chat with Young God. He doesn't know what that is. Look cool. So he is a right clicker. My boy Young God. And I appreciate it. No. Unfortunate, but
you can't. Yeah. You can't do that though, John. People pay for these things. You can't just right-click an image. You can't right-click an NFT, John. That's not right. I'll have you know Gary's watching, by the way, John. I know Gary's watching. So, Gary, if you want to chime in, mate, you know who you are, Gary. You want to chime in, let John know about how you feel about his opinions of NFTs. You chime in, Gary, no worries. You tweet at us. Let us know. You got to get those iPhones somehow, John. Not cheap.
That it isn't. That it isn't, Mike. It's still, you know, I loved it when Yopaj tweeted out, majors are canceled. Gary's like, no. There's still Major 2 and Major 3. You got to stay motivated, Yopaj. And I reminded him the motivation's in the iPhone. So, you know, you got to get the iPhone action there, you know, Gary. That's the motivation for Boom. It's the iPhones and Tim's sandwiches every single time. Sandwiches for everyone. It's just like almost every week you see that stuff, you know?
Oh, but those sandwiches sell themselves though, John. They look delicious. We do get back into the game. Raging Potato, he is going to be fine. Febby complaining about some ping issues, but hopefully he's rectified those issues now. As SMG, they did end up losing Arfu, but that's about all they're going to lose.
Yeah. So, not the biggest kill to lose. SMG still hold on to a very comfy lead here. 3k up, mainly on mid one. Everyone else kind of evenly farmed. Joem matching Moon's pace. Young God on the tail of Raging, and Xiao Yu kind of in that trio, of course, in the same farming area. I think the next thing now is really how you diversify that, or how you use that farm on TNC. Because he's already got Lincoln Xiao Yu. He's going for the BKB next. No sign of the Ags build up. So Iron Shard charges with the shield. The additional HP's kind of faded off a bit, but the Ag Shard is coming through. So we will get that normal punch, more control in terms of slows, more illusions to kind of dish out. Punching the TB is going to be big here, just to have more replicants out dealing damage. And that could be one big point for TNC as well. Once that's up and running, you kind of have to track that Darkseer is going to be at, because you can't just jump in and try and set up. Oof.
Blessings.
Well, the reflection, it did connect onto Febby, so they know exactly where he is, or do they? Febby runs deeper into the tree line, but the gush is going to land. They want to get an Earth Spike? No, it was on cooldown. It was on cooldown, so Arfu could not give it a crack. So a 3k net worth advantage here for SMG. TNC well and truly still within this game. Again, a lot riding here on the line for TNCs. They are fighting relegation. Every win they can get right now, and very close matchup. It's anyone's game one.
Yeah. It's a lot more even than I think SMG expected, you know. You heard off a lot of confidence there. Said it should be an easy win. It's not looking easy so far. It's very even tempo. It's 17 to 8 in marginal effort. It's mainly tied into just one hero on mid one. They are making good work onto bot tier 2, so that's going to give them a tower advantage. Again, just locking in their control on the bot jungle. Doesn't quite open up their movement to Roche in the same way, but they still hold on to their own outpost anyway. So that they can just kind of force a response here, maybe rotate around to Roshan when the numbers are up, and kind of build off from there when it's up. And yeah, let's just get started. You've got a lot of damage on TV, full charge Metamorphosis. Someone's got to come in here to stop this push.
Free tower is going to be dropping rather fast. I mean, TNC can't just rely on that living armor. They've got to make the jump to play high. He tries to the pulse and the feature is there. Sonic Wave, Wall, Ravage, Raging. He's set up perfectly now. Maybe they can turn this fight around, but Young God, he's already found Roger. Yoe, he's going to try and move in onto mid one to Sunder. It's only an illusion. It's not a great one, so mid one who have to back off. But Febby, he's in with the overgrowth, setting back up onto mid one. They take the TV down. Maybe they can find the TA though, and they'll try to burst down Yoe. The Milne Strike, it's not going to be enough. Young God, oh, he wants to go further. He's not going to find anyone though. So a great Ravage, great overgrowth. In the end, who does it really favor, John?
I think that does favor TNC just slightly. Mid one is a much bigger target than Yoa is on the TA, so in terms of network swing, it is worthwhile for them. They stop the tier 3 push as well, and they can heal back up with a Treant. So it should be back to maybe half HP by the time SMG might want to consider going back in. And that does help TNC's costs out massively. Do have to say, that start fight is very strange. Playhard immediately blinked in, did not get Avalanche or toss off, and there was a delay before the grip came off. So it felt like if he did manage to get at least the Avalanche, the toss back onto mid one, that fight might have been a little bit cleaner for TNC. They still find the target they want. Stave off the push, so I guess in the end you're not really going to be scratching heads there. SMG, they got their own blink up and raging, so it's going to be a lot easier to get those big ravages that we've been seeing. I mean, he's been getting them without it, but I think this allows him to choose that moment to get the big ravage off a lot easier rather than having to wait for TNC to clump up themselves. You can kind of just jump in, look for a couple of isolated heroes, burst them off, and clean up from there. So more tools for SMG to play with. TNC still waiting for that build-up. Yoa is just trying to go straight into the MKB for more damage and potentially going against that evasion that mid one might have down the line. He has kind of held off on his level 10 talent, so he doesn't have that 16% evasion. So right now the MKB build-up is kind of very preemptive. There's nothing yet giving that evasion out, but again, maybe considering some Haliburts down the line, he will want that up. Still, Roche being started here by TNC. No Ravage, not too far off here for SMG, so they could kind of contest this if they want to.
They certainly could, John. Ravage is up in 10. They want to drag it out at least till then. Roshan's still very healthy, so they're going to have plenty of time to wait that one out. TNC, though, obviously very strong right now with Yoa and Youngo. They jump in. Avalanche toss is already out there. Blown up Moon. That's the CEO gone. Finger out, however. Play hard. He'll be the second to drop, but Febby, he's out with the overgrowth now. They've got Okja raging. He'll try to kite out as Yoa. He needs to escape now. The buybacks are coming in, but the Ravage is there. But there is no follow-up to the Ravage either. Zafu, he will get a nice hex off into Xiao Yu. They'll be able to find a Darkseer. Very messy engagement from these two teams, but it does seem like SMG are going to have first dibs on that Roshan.
We've got Axis in, there's no Ravage counterfight, but there's also no Overgrowth. So a lot of pressure on Playhard to get that blink up and maybe getting the Avalanche toss to open this up.
Yeah, they're going to try and play hard. That's a great toss out, Moon. He cannot afford to die right now. That would be a dieback, but Febby, he's the one to go down as Roshan. It'll continue. And it does seem like TNC are slowly running out of options for this Roshan number 2. In the end, mid 1 and Moon will take the Aegis and Shards respectively. But does Moon really want to keep the Shards?
I'd like to see it, you know. I like the Laguna Blade in line. He passes it on. It's on to Roger now. Got the brains up AoE, which is huge. And Roger's going to be able to maintain his forward presence and dish some good damage out as well. So let's see how well TNC can hold up against the Aegis. 7k lead for us off the back of that and those buybacks. TNC not executing clean enough. Really good counterfight from SMG though, although...
Yeah, Moon, no, toss is not there. Play hard. He tried to dance around that creep, but was not lucky enough to get the toss off. TNC, that'll be enough for them. They'll back off again, just get a reset going. 3 minutes in though, there is going to be a 7k net worth advantage to SMG. Because they've still got that Aegis advantage to boost. They did just pick it up. TNC, again, not out of this game yet, but as time goes on, John, you look at mid one's farm, it is starting to really get out of control, and you can't really forget that you've still got Moon to worry about on the leaner. He's going to be dishing out a lot of damage on this hero as the time does drag out.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 cores of SMG a lot better right now than TNC. I think for TNC, their counterplay potential really relies on that wall. It relies on those replicants, those clones coming out, using that farm, using that damage against them. So there's a lot of pressure on Xiao to get a big use of that. The MKB build-up here for Yoa is still a ways off, and there's actually no evasion right now in mid. The evasion's really on Raging, who does go for the Heaven's Halberd. So you're not getting the counter item pick to go into the TP. At the same time, it's still really useful for TA, but one has to wonder whether or not you'd be better off with your own Daedalus, you know, just a little bit more burst damage to deal with some of these heroes, to deal with the squishier backline. That might be more helpful for TNC. We'll see if they kind of change their minds here, but the siege has begun again, although...
Fox up mid one, already so low, but the Sunder, it's going to make it in time, so he holds on to the Aegis. Just barely here for mid one. Keep in mind, meta is available, but he may wait for the first life to expire before he does go for that metamorphosis. Won't need it for now. They got the racks for free. All about rotating into the mid lane now and finding that secondary racks, but they've still got those outer objectives at the top lane they can also choose to deal with. With the Aegis up though, you may as well commit for the mid tier 3.
Yeah. It's a clean option for SMG onto the high ground. They've got the Ravage back up. I want to highlight something here, Mike. Look at mid one's build. Look at his skills. He goes for 1 level under 2 points in reflection. At level 21, went all in on the attributes. Just level 1 Sunder. That's a 120-second cooldown. He's just confident not dying in these fights.
Oh, absolutely. Raging Ravage from the cliff does land onto 2 Sonic Wave through all of them, but doesn't matter. It looks like Yoe's going to drop mid one with the BKB just standing his ground. And Svebby is going to try and run on the tree, but he's not going to make it out. In the meantime, Moon's found Zhao Yu on the dark side, and that's going to be another. SMG, just a very clean team fight to go their way. And it's into the mid racks now. With this Metamorphosis TB, again, John, there's just nothing they can do to stop it. Mid one still has the Aegis up.
Yeah, he's still very well protected. A minute and a half in that Aegis. They're going for tier 4s. They know they've got the damage, forcing the buyback out from Zhao Yu, going back to mid. They can't quite go for the Megas with a tier 1 still standing top, but they can just go, yeah. They're feeling confident. They've got the damage on Moon and mid 1. They've got the AC up on the Lina to kind of speed up this process as well. And just the right clicks flying out, it just feels like an eternity for TNC to be back up here to stop this.
I mean, they finally buy back on Yoe mid one though. He's still more than happy to keep going with the normal punch. It will be this. They get the Aegis off the side of SMG. That'll be 1. How far do you want to go on this Terrorblade without Metamorphosis? It seems like they are done, but Bebby, he's going to jump in and lock down mid one. He'll turn around though with the Demon Tail. Look at the damage output. Zhao Yu's going to be the second to drop, as now they found Yoe on the TA. Can they lock him down? It doesn't really matter. They'll go after Young God instead on that Queen of Pain. Mid one, Sunder's there again. He just will not die. Not on this Terrorblade, as they ignore the TA. They'll go back in on the Ancient. Mid one, still hiding, juking and jiving. Young God is going to blink back in, and they will protect the Ancient. It is committing all their buybacks to make this happen. So far, so good as play hard. Well, he's going to find Roger. And SMG down, but they are not going to commit any further than they have to.
Man, I just love this for mid one. Like, that, when he sundered, that was still a level 1 sunder, and then he skilled it up after. So it was still another 120-second cooldown. It's just paying off. These fights are spaced out far enough. The burst windows of TNC are spaced far enough that mid one isn't under pressure to kind of swing back in 40 seconds to sunder again. He's just free to kind of greed out here, and off the back of those fights, off the back of that mid racks being taken, SMG has a massive lead now, 21k. They've got 2 cores. They're just scaling up massively. On the side of TNC, I mean, the Quap can kind of scale. It's a long way off from hitting those item spikes towards the late game, and talent spikes as well. So most of your damage as a big core is really on Yoe, and the rest of it's coming out from the control and the area follow-ups you have with your Darkseer and Treant. We haven't seen the big vac wall overgrowths just yet, and I think TNC need to be able to start the fight. They need to be the ones to jump in first, to get the control, clean up the pesky Vayne, the pesky Lina, and just kind of try to fight into those cores afterwards with a couple of replicas out from the wall. Like, that's your ideal situation. Maybe normal punch playing a big factor there as well. So we'll see if TNC finds that opening, but SMG's been so disciplined to kind of split up, jump in with a tide first and clean up afterwards.
Maybe he's not going to spot it after Yoe though. He'll get the BKB off. Aeon Disc will be propped. Fingers down. They'll just throw everything as the wall now. Drop at the Ravages there. Yoe's been caught again, but they'll go after Zhao Yu first. Back in onto Yoe. Somehow Arthur survived through all of that, but he does finally drop as Roger now. And we'll move forward. Onto the Quap they go. They've even found the TA. Just everybody falling for the side of TNC. As play hard, he will be left behind. That'll be a 4-for-1. Is that just GG? I mean, you've got no buybacks. You've only got the Quap.
Yeah, respawns are a bit shorter in the other heroes besides Yoen, so there is maybe a window, but nah. Moon sees the move, goes straight for the Ancient, knows there's no buybacks, and he's just gonna get it done. Taps out, TNC forced the call there, and SMG do manage to take that game one, but it's a lot closer than I think a lot of people expected. I mean, we heard Opti what he said about this matchup going in. Very confident, said it would be an easy win. They do find the first win, but I don't think it was that easy, Mike. I think it's a lot closer than either side might have expected. Managed to do really great work in TNC's end to kind of enable Yoa to kind of hit these spikes on Playhard and on Xiao Yu. I think the safe lane pop didn't quite go the way they wanted to. Lane aggression was there. They were finding a few kills on the Tide, but once certain levels were up, once that Hood of Defiance was up, bursting down
Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team ban. Dire team ban. Radiant team pick. Dire team pick.
Bang.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick. Radiant team pick.
Tiny.
Radiant team ban.
Elder Titan.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick. Radiant team pick. Queen of Pain. 10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Radiant team pick.
Death Prophet.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team pick.
Tide Hunter.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
They've got, they've got farming the eye, whatever they want to. And their pickoffs are alright, but yeah, the overall team fight is somewhat lacking. Certainly SMG far and away ahead.
SMG keep taking the Tide, and we keep talking about like, oh yeah, Xiaoyu is really good at Tide, and they just take them away. Maybe this is a good Viper game. You're laning with Tiny. It's always nice to have a Viper off lane, and they don't really have like any purges. Obviously Tide, but like Nether Toxin literally counters him. So maybe they don't have like enough control for a Viper though. Is my only issue. Like once again, they kind of don't have much.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to play a Viper, you need some, like, what's both need. IO doesn't want to do that. Tiny doesn't want to do that, right? Like, get in and out as opposed to stay there, like, clockwork, or might like to.
I think my problem as an offlaner when I have a 4 play, really like make sure, especially when it's as weak Tiny, because at least if you're laning like a strong or with another offlaner with like
Mereska has arrived.
Also, is it Tiny Core then?
With IO? Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say when they picked it up, like maybe this would have, if SMG were playing it. I know Raging Potato used to play it on the position a fair amount, the Tiny, but I really think it was in TNC's.
10 seconds remaining.
Could just go for something big throwback, Tiny IO combination
5
together.
seconds
You never
remaining.
know.
Hey, last time you said something wasn't House, they ended up doing real well.
With a Death Prophet.
That was the Death Prophet post 5.
And then they let SMG have it.
Yeah, no, SMG had Death Prophet.
And it's a Moon Death Prophet as well, probably. Again, fantastic. I'm still feeling SMG's draft. TNC, of course, have a lot more of that burst damage now. You've got a little bit more of that area control, so it's harder to just run away. You can just terrorize the deep if she starts running at you, which gives you that little bit of break space. Having 10 up against that exorcism. Got left. I mean, you think that this is another Young God Queen of Pain because they don't have a win condition on TNC. I mean, Tiny should get to that stage, but it's nowhere near as strong.
Queen of Pain for sure could go into this.
Dire team
I know Young God likes
Templar Assassin.
Maybe that would be decent, especially since lane into Tide Hunter. It's partner for IO. Honestly, looks as like a scaling core for them.
Big game though. So little that gets through refraction right now.
10 seconds
would help,
remaining.
and the Ags are like constantly outputting like damage hits.
5
it's not like the
seconds
worst.
remaining.
You're also like being helped by Queen of Pain Like, I mean, she was gonna get a BKB, right? But I think they have like quite a lot to get stuck with all.
You may now select your heroes.
Ooh, I hate Beastmaster and oh my god. It's like
Mid Beastmaster?
Is it?
No?
No, it's offlane,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so what's the safe lane? It's
Tiny.
Spain. No, I'm saying for SMG. It's Spain, yay?
Yeah.
That's pretty fine into not. Because like
You've got decent ways to kill the boss.
yeah. And then they can just move Raging Potato to the lane to kind of sit in front of it and make it hard for him to take the tower. They're also like we talked about, Elder Titan is like quite risky. And Beastmaster is not like a take from far away like a Pug Knight. It's like fit in with like. So maybe it's hard. Maybe they just. I mean, they've lost picked it. They're clearly confident.
Are you confident in them though?
I'm not so much as confident as interested in how they're going to execute Carry Tiny. That's really.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to see perhaps something again where they just break the mold of the meta and something that teams are going to need to consider, because again, TNC lose this, they're relegated.
Yeah, it is definitely guaranteed out. But I'm looking forward to seeing what TNC can bring to this game. But I know two people who can always bring the goods to the game is MLP and John.
Very much. In we go for game number 2 between TNC and SMG. And John, as the panel said, TNC, they can't really afford to lose this game. Otherwise, they are getting relegated back down to Division 2. Do you believe in this draft here against SMG, John? Do you think TNC has what it takes?
I mean, they've got the Febby special IO back up. They've got the Beastmaster to kind of give them momentum. They give the Quap to the to the mid lane for Yoa, so we're not going to have to deal with the safe lane Quap this time around. It is laning up against a TA, which you can manage. I just don't know if I put much stock in Pause 1 Tiny nowadays. It's been a while since we've seen that. Post TI, it really hasn't shown up at all. It does have it is a classic IO combo.
Very wise.
It requires a lot of execution here from TNC, and I think we're going to have to see them clean up that execution from game 1. Like, it was sort of there, but with this kind of lineup, you have very specific timings you hit. You want to push in fast with the Beastmaster. You want your times to be up online, ready to jump around, ready to play with a relocate very early on. And you have to understand that tempo here from the side of TNC, because we saw SMG. Maybe the start was a little bit better for TNC in that first game, but SMG just held out, got the farm on all their greedier lineup with a Lena TB, and they just won out the end, having better scaling and having better ways of just having the damage to deal with it, having that big Ravage control, and that's something TNC has to understand. The timing issue between these two teams, TNC has to be able to play against that.
Might have a very early level 1 engagement as Arfu is going to get spotted out. Young God not really in position to really look for a toss back, and he has the tree grab anyway. See now the ones on the runners. Well, SMG, they want to get in range for a ship from Raging, but they're not going to be able to find that either. No level 1 engagement to come out. Going back to my earlier thought though, Jonathan, if anyone hasn't told you today, you do look fabulous with that very nice blue shirt on. You never tell me you're going to wear it so we can have matching shirt. I keep reminding you to. But thank you, John. You do look fabulous today.
Oh, you always match, Mike. You've always got the floral patterns on, so I just figure if I toss this on, it's always going to work. You look swell as well, Mike. I'm sure the viewers are very pleased that we're spending this time just complimenting each other as the teams go 2-2 right now on the bounties.
I wouldn't even call it compliment. I mean, you said swell, John. I mean, what does swell even mean? It's like average, right? It's like, yeah, you did all right. You're fabulous, Sean. Yeah, that's a good compliment.
I'm trying to think that. I don't compliment you too often, so I don't know.
You never compliment me, John. Don't sugarcoat it.
What I can compliment are the players, and we're taking a look right now onto mid, Mike. Yoa on the Quap up against Moon on the DP, getting that flex again on SMG with that pick, as has been discussed by the panel. Very flexible hero. Lane matchup does hold out fairly even. I think the Quap has ways of working the lane. Moon has ways of just holding his own as well with Spirit Siphon, especially once that's level 2. The harassment from Yoa might not be enough to burst him down. Level 6 timing is really key here, but rune control is also really important for both sides. So I think we can expect maybe Afu to get that early movement out that he tends to do by the 4-minute mark to contest runes. And with a Elder Titan, it shouldn't be too tough for Afu down the line.
Certainly not. Of course, mid lane, you've got Moon with Yoa. I wonder with this matchup as well, right? Like, does Moon have the advantages as Yoa, John? I mean, with the Quap You can't, in fact, hold that thought, because across the map we do have a bit of damage going on here onto SMG. Xiao Yu, oh, he's got a couple of big melt strike out on the Beastmaster, but does not go down. Surviving on about 20 HP. First, talk to me about this lane, John. Do you expect the advantage to go the way of SMG or TNC?
I think this one's a little bit more back and forth. You do have ways to play it here on the side of SMG, but TNC can also just constantly shove it in. Mid one's all dropping low here.
Everyone's dropping low, John. Play hard, gonna go in for the Shadow Realm strike, but it's not enough to kill off mid one. He's gonna survive. Problem is there is no salve available here, so Roger, he's gonna have to explain to mid one while he doesn't have some regen here for the TA is, well, nothing's left now. They've got to try and deal with this laning stage the way they are. It's a very tough position as Roger's gonna get Bramble mazed up and he's dropping. How do you farm as mid one? Zhao Yu's just going to dive him underneath that tier 1 tower. Obviously, there's no detection available. They can't go through the meld, but they can certainly deny the creeps away.
Yeah, and you start to build that momentum up for Xiao Yu. Just having the boards up, having the Hawks to give some forward vision does help immensely. And Playhard's doing a great job of just being super aggressive on that Dark Wall. And they just look to try to burn down. The salve is there with a refraction. They will actually play hard a bit.
Yeah, nice. I'll strike in. They'll get a bit of revenge there onto Play Hard. Here back and forth bot lane, and I suppose while we have a chance, John, we should have a quick gander at the top lane, perhaps, as we've got our food there with Young God, or against Young God rather, and Febby, of course, there on the IO, along with the Raging Potato. I know you kind of briefly went over this lane already, John, but anything else in particular we need to watch out for?
And Tiny IO is just really strong. Great snipe in the courier. There is a lot of damage potential here from SMG though. Like if you do get good spirit out and then you get a good rush to follow through, you can kind of rip through these cores. Tiny does not have much armor to lane with. So if you get a lot of damage on Afu, you can just gap close, dished out the damage onto Young God, force him back. Febby will provide a lot of regen, so it's going to be hard to completely shut out the Tiny farm. But you can make it a painful process, make it a very slow process. You're immediately here up against a tide as well, so anchor smash is always going to be a constant issue. Yet that just kind of makes it a little bit harder for Young God if Febby doesn't put his body forward.
Yeah. Shout, but fine.
No goal for you.
How is the mid lane going? I mean, Moon right now, 22 CS against the 15, rather not the 15, but the 21 of Yoe. It's a pretty close matchup in this mid lane. Not really too much going on here. It just seems like they're both happy to just kind of trade farm.
Just very static lane. Again, both sides have ways of breaking off the aggression from either side. You've got some regen on hand with their own skills, although DP kind of wins out in that sense, but you have the mobility on Yoe to secure those water rings. We're at the 4-minute mark. Afu hasn't really shifted out because of how busy top lane is, so that is giving more of a window here for Yoe to play around, and I think that's kind of opening up that matchup a bit more. It's not the timings we usually expect from Afu, just really focusing on his side lane, but it is what it is sometimes.
Bot lane, Roger, he's going to end up going down here as Play Hard, able to connect the strike with the Shadow Realm. Nice kill here for TNC down to the bot lane. Very hard laning stage here for SMG as mid one. He's still farming decently. It does feel like the TA though is going to be quite reliant on just hitting up that jungle probably very soon, considering how this lane is going.
And that's the beauty of SMG's draft. The DP is not going to need too much jungle space. The Tide might, but he can also just eat laning space and make some action happen on the map as well, especially if Ravage is up. So you can kind of stall out for your win condition on the TA. You are also kind of keeping Xiao Yu in check. He has been really aggressive. He's been trying to slow down TA's farm, but he's sacrificing his own CS. He will still have some good timing on the Helm of the Dominator, and that's when the push can really start flowing from TNC. Until that point, you're kind of just hanging in lane, and without the support to play with, you can't really zone out mid one fully here.
Certainly not. Roger. Nightmare there on to Play Hard. No amount to much though. Just a bit of trading here between the two.
Courier has been killed.
Over those runes right now. No rotation from Febby on the IO. It looks like he does want to just snap the banner away from Moon on the DP, and he's going to be able to get away with it. Meantime, Roger's still messing around here with Play Hard, but the Nightmare is going to fly out, and Yoe is going to try and jump in, but Play Hard has already gone down, so Yoe, all he can do is really try to trade. Stevie will try to help him out, but now Moon is going to pop the Exorcism, but I don't know if this is really going to amount to much, as Roger's already dead, and Moon, he's not going to find anything. Febby will give him the tip.
Yeah, it's a bit optimistic. No stuns to stop the simple TP out. And with the Exorcism only having half duration, not at the tower, you're not really chipping away at that tier 1 either. So you miss a bit of a window here from SMG. You do at least find a support kill for Yoa to build off of. I don't think it's the biggest loss for SMG, but that will again stop a bit of their own push going, and you can expect TNC to play off the back of that. Once that Dominator is up in Xiaoyu, they can make the movement down bot, and if their mid still stands, which it should because of that Exorcism use, they can easily shift it from the tier 1 and make something happen there as well.
Oh, Ravage top lane, they've got 2 targets. Febby, he's going to be the first to be targeted, but they haven't got the damage. All right, now, by God, they have not got the damage to deal with them. Febby's going to survive. Arfu, he's going to keep trying to rush forward onto the IO, but now Yoe, he's going to jump in and help out. Raging, he will drop very, very fast and eventually will go down. Zafu, all he can do is just try to run. Now, even Roger joins in on the Bane, but it's just to pop a Nightmare and just get out with Arfu. They kind of just miss out on everything, and they still lose a hero.
Some big punishment coming out from TNC, so they can build up a little bit more on Yoa finding those kills. He even managed to find that punishment onto mid 1 while he's left alone. The Dominator is up for Xiaoyu. He had the help from Play Hard. They can look to push. Xiaoyu is a bit low on mana, but at least he does have a clarity flowing, so if he does find a good creep, they can get going now. Pressure the tower, start taking some objectives, making space on the map, start putting that aggression open. Right, you're still waiting for Young God to hit some item spikes, but if you're forcing responses elsewhere, SMG might not be able to keep track of that time.
Not. Young God, maybe. He spotted Arthur, he'll go for a stomp, and it will land onto Young God. Nightmare will be there from Roger as Moon. He does close the gap. It does pop the DD route to try and go onto this Tiny, but Febby's going to be there to help him run with the tip of movement speed, and that's going to be enough. They actually just cannot hold them down. The lack of control really starting to hurt as bot lane mid 1 was dropping low the whole time. Xiao Yu now will be slowed up. Mid 1 trying to find a way out, but Yo is going to be there with the Sonic Wave, and that's going to be more than enough as Roger, he will just be the cherry on top. That'll be the tier 1 bot tower to drop. As top lane, they are even breaking out into another team fight, but it's going to be onto Young God again, and Febby is just going to make sure that Young God can just run. No issues whatsoever so far for TNC.
Now, there's some control issues coming out from SMG. Like, without the Fiend's Grip, it's just really hard to pin any of those slippery high-speed heroes down. They're really depending mainly on Nightmare, which is just not enough, and Ravage, which is such a massive cooldown. They will be able to find that top tier 1 tower trade, so it does even up the map control and will allow SMG to maybe plant some deep rewards, keeping track of Young God's form. They have been trying to shut Young God down, but not quite to the effect they want to. Still, you know, mid 1 is also kind of playing the jungle, also trying to build up on that TA. Lagging a bit behind here, which is not characteristic for mid 1, but his lane just kind of got smashed when he got both alone. And with that tier 1 bot, because they're not depending on an ult here from TNC, they're already going mid. They've got the dominated creep, they've got the boars, they can just constantly apply pressure onto the mid and force the rotations in from SMG to give themselves that space for the Tiny to build up here, Mike.
Moving in mid lane, I mean, you've got the Ravage up. Nowhere. Shadow Strike out, Play Hard with the Brambles. Raging almost feels like he's baiting them in, so it's going to be a lot of damage now flying out, so maybe he's the one that's been baited, and yeah, the tips are there. Do you pop the Ravage? That is a great stomp out to slow them down, but it's still not going to be enough, as they will eventually take the Tidehunter out. They just weren't ready for a fight.
Radiant's middle tower.
Yeah, they're just not quite set yet on SMG, and they really need levels on the supports. They will try to catch Play Hard out a bit here.
I mean, they're going to try, but they've got that same problem of people just TPing away. They just don't have the control.
Yeah. And it's making it hard for them to find anything in these exchanges. TNC, they don't get the most tower damage, tier 1, but they are forcing a response, as we said, and that's so much space for Young God to build up on the tiny. Echo Saber almost up here. Maybe just with that, they could run around with the IO, relocate in, force these fights, force the aggression out of the team. They've got a 3k lead at 11 minutes in. That's a big amount, and that's kind of equally shared between all cores as well. So it's not like TNC's sacrificing their progression on any single hero. All of them are kind of hitting these early game item spikes at the same moment. Not that SMG's too far behind. Mid one still within 100 gold of Xiaoyu at the least. So your TA is still going to ride into the Dragonlance, into Death's Blink, maybe even a fast BKB here. And I think for SMG, this is the moment where they're kind of a bit weaker in terms of their hero lineup. You know, they need to kind of just step back, try to buy space for the TA, and sort of similar to game 1, just have the patience to build up on your core. You only have that one win condition in your TA in comparison to game 1 with the Lena on top of it as well. But in game 1, if he does get the items up, it will be very hard to hold down. There's only really the roar to hold him down once the BKB's up. And even that might be just mere dodge out by a Bane. So there's a lot of ways for SMG to kind of play around that.
Just feels like the calm before the storm in between these teams is Roger. He's going to find another nightmare, but doesn't have the Fiend Grip yet. We'll force out the Terrorize, though, at the very least, is now SMG. They are going to move in again with Raging in the front line, trying to find a nice Ravage target. In the meantime, though, Arfu is going to drop, but Raging now, he's gone too far. The team is nowhere near him. And he is tanky enough to walk away. Thing is, TNC are just not giving the openings over to Raging. Or maybe they are, because the Ravage is going to be thrown out, but it is only onto an IO. They do finally get rid of Febby, but it is going to cost them heavily, as now they go into a Fiend's Grip of Yoe. He's going to be fine to just blink out. They're going to keep trying, SMG, but again, they're lacking so much control at the moment. They can't really lock anyone down, and again, in the meantime, Xiao Yu, he finds another kill as Yoe is going to jump in now, and Moon's gone. There goes your Death Prophet as Yoe. Well, he's low on mana now, but he will stick charge up. He'll have another blink in a few seconds, but he is still going to go down. It will cost him his life to get Moon, but mid one now, he's the one in danger as Xiao Yu does move in. Mid one, oh, he's going to be saved by the stop out from Arfu. They'll give him the time to run, and Xiao Yu does finally end up going down. SMG still kind of kiting in and out. They're trying to play hard now. The Dark he's still going with that FSA up. He's happy to just keep this fight going over and over again, but another nice swap out from Arfu. Not to play hard this time. We need another kill to go the way of SMG, but now Raging. Can you find a way out, sir? It doesn't seem like, but he'll go back it onto Febby now. The IO in trouble as Raging is somehow still surviving. Now the stop comes out, so Raging's out of there. He'll TP out right in front as Young God can cancel it off. Somehow the Watermelon makes it, but Arfu is still stuck between a rock and a hard place, or maybe not. No, he's fine, John. He is just fine.
Oh man, that was such a long fight between both sides. The respawns are so short. They managed to come in. SMG definitely won that out in a big way. They save mid one. They find the stragglers on TNC. They managed to get some good punishment off, while simultaneously defending their tier 1, preventing a push. The TNC mid tier 1 is actually lower now than the SMG side, so that's great news up against a Beastmaster. And for the side of TNC, I think it's maybe time to just get Young God a little bit more. Maybe once you have that Shadow Blade up, you can play a little bit more confidently. We haven't seen big relocate plays yet coming out from TNC. They've just kind of been running up. And we haven't even seen a big roar yet from Xiao Yu. So there's still some control options, some plays TNC hasn't quite shown up yet. That could catch SMG off guard if they do manage to find that opening. But the G, you're seeing the difference once they have that Fiend's Grip. It's a lot easier for Roger to find targets to keep down, although mid one.
Yeah, top lane, mid one's going to be in danger now as the relocate is there. Young God, he'll join in with Febby. Roger trying to show himself, secure a kill onto Yoe. But it may cost him his own life now as Yoe does make the jump in. Fully healed up, and yeah, that'll be Roger gone. Mid one just very far forward trying to find that farm, but it is going to cost him his life and the life of Roger. But Arfu in the meantime does at least pick up Xiao Yu, but it's still not going to feel like a very worthwhile trade here for SMG.
Nah, definitely not. They had to use the Earth Splitter out from Arfu as well to make that work. It's a pretty big cooldown, and it's a lot of the damage coming out from SMG in these prolonged fights as well. Great follow-up to the Ravage. Your combination with Ravage Rit Splitters kind of down for a while. At the least for SMG, that does mean no push will come out anytime soon, so they can keep trying to give mid one space, but mid one has to be a bit careful with his farming spots. The side of TNC again with a relocate, can easily jump around, make a 2-man gank into a 4-man gank, and just get the punishment out there.
Zhao Yu, nice roar in, right onto Moon. The Ravage will be there to try and protect this. Moon, he is still fine as Zhao Yu. He'll be targeted. They'll try out to the Beastmaster, but Febby, they're trying to keep him alive, but it's not going to last for long, it seems, as Zhao Yu does finally drop. That'll be one. And also that'll be about it, as TNC may not want to force the fight without their Beastmaster. And hell, they've already lost that mid-tier 1, but Roger, he came back in. Bane, maybe trying to force a bit more, but his team is not willing to fight. So Roger will drop for nothing. That's the SMG, they still got what they came for.
They take the mid-tier 1, opening up the map a little bit more, ahead of TNC as well, which is not where you really want to be with Beastmaster. They've just been very focused on SMG to keep Xiao Yu down and prevent him from snowballing the side of TNC in terms of map control. So it's coming a little bit harder to exert that pressure, to keep playing forward, to use forward hawk vision to get rotations out with that mid-tier 1 tower. And the side of TNC, it feels like they're just waiting for Young God, right? Like I believe that's a Shadow Blade coming out, so he's got a way of sneaking around into these fights as well, a little bit more attack speed to play with. Once the BKB's up, that's when you can feel fairly secure on TNC's end, but you have to remember the Fiend's Grip is still there for SMG to hold back a spell immune target, so you still have ways of dealing with that on SMG. They are trying to move together as a team along with Midwin. He's got that Deso up. That's the early TA timing they do want to play. They've got a lot of minus armor to tide on top of it, so they can kind of just look to burst some softer targets down here.
Play hard. Fine for now. Raging, still going to get the vision, so Gosh is going to be there. Roger, you've got the Fiend Grip if you really want to commit it, and I think he may be able to get within the range.
Radiant's middle tower
Connect to play hard. You look back at that mid lane, Young God and Febby, they were trying to get a push going into that tier 1 mid. They won't be so successful, but they do at least secure a double damage rune here for Yoa, but it may cost him his own life as they do commit the Earth Spitter with the silence out. Febby is going to try and let him live, but it's not going to work, and Febby now, he'll get the tip back from the CEO. Moon will let him know about it.
Yeah. That's what you get for accepting early. You got to give it back, and no, Nightmare just holds him back, but that should still be a dead eye right there. Good pickoffs coming out from SMG. Starting to really play around their DP, play around their Tide really well, and that's Roshan now. Again, with the Desolator on TA, with the Tide Hunter on hand, it doesn't take too long to get this done. They might not even need the Exo here because of how fast it is. And TNC, they know it's happening, but they can't really sneak their way in. So they're just going to have to surrender it. Nice pickup for mid once, protected by a second life. He's only about 300 gold away from that blink as well, Mike. So RTA is really going to be ready to jump in, help them gap close and find some soft targets in the back lines once that's up, and there's just not much from TNC to stop him. Like, they ganked him a couple of times. They haven't really tracked mid one's jungle, and he's working the jungle camps to the same efficiency that Young God is. It's just that the items, they feel a lot more impactful in the early game here.
Raging's been targeted again bot lane. You do have a lot of damage there with Young God, so even pop the Bedlam here from Playhard just to ensure it, but Raging, he is somehow still able to walk away, at least for a second. In one. Aggressive TP in from our TA. See, trying to find a way into this fight, but Fiend's Grip is there. They Xiao Yu with a great silence up from Moon on 3 targets, but that is going to be about it for now. Xiao Yu, he will drop. Roger, he will go down, but so will Playharders. Now they rush for more. They'd love Febby on that IO. Maybe he's going to be able to tether to Young God, however, and seems like he will be just fine. Seems like SG, I mean, they lost Raging earlier on, but they had the right idea to force a fight, and it does work out.
They did force the buyback out from Roger, so I think in the end, TNC's not going to be too upset. They trade basically the same supports, support and off lane, both sides, except they force a buyback from SMG, slowing down Roger's build-up. So his Aether Lens is going to be a bit stalled out because of that, and that is a pain point for the lead. Past the Tumbler's Toy to kind of act as a pseudo range increase, the little vault. So you still have some reach, but you do want to kind of gear up your Bane, especially to catch out Yoa. He's the one that's really slippery here. They are lining up for him, but they do have Ravage if they want. It's just tough to commit onto one hero.
Yeah, you don't really have the blink initiation here from Raging, so you're always going to be fine to blink through the tree line. Roger was not within range to start it off with a Nightmare. So I mean, they are buying plenty of time for Young God to just keep that farm up on that Tiny, and I suppose that's all that's important here for the side of TNC. It is still Tiny IO. It's still a very strong combination to have throughout the late game. Meanwhile, though, I mean, SMG, they want to start slowly chipping away at that top tier 2 tower. You don't have the Exorcism right now, but just with the right click alone, you might be able to slowly just get it done. That siege creep there as well, but it doesn't seem like they want to fully commit. These rotations coming in, and again, they're going to target Raging Potato on side. This time around, though, he should be just fine with his team behind him. And Ravage up. It's very hard to be able to burst into quick enough.
Is under attack.
What they are doing, though, is they are pushing the bot tier 2 tower. So TNC, they are still finding an amazing trade as this is happening. It's taking way too long for SMG to be able to take this top tier 2 out. So TNC, they get their tier 2 tower, and SMG, they get nothing.
And we're at the point where the Tiny just hits really, really hard. The Shard's coming out next after the speaking. So you're kind of ready to go with Young God. They're ready to just relocate in and fight, turn things around from the back line, and start letting it rip. Mid one, he will be rushing his axe, so he wants to counterplay on that split push. He wants to be able to defend with ninja traps and just work the map. We'll see if it will pay off. Again.
Yeah, jump on Moon, but Yoa, he trying to move in to help out. Mid one immediately in onto that quad. Not going to be enough damage, but they should be able to get play hard. And an angle for more. Doesn't seem like it. However, down the bot side of the map, Raging is in a bit of danger now as Young God has spotted him out. They toss him up. Raging again has no help around apart from Roger, but he's going to commit the damage anyway. With the beams now committed, but where is the damage output? It's not going to be there. Raging is going to keep buying time, though his team does push in that mid-tier 2 tower. But they're not able to get it done in time. They have a creep wave.
Yeah. Just good plays coming out from TNC. They managed to grab the gem as well. Raging did try to micro his courier in that downtime, so he really tried to stall out to get the courier in, so he could try to sneak it away. TNC still comes out on top of that, so now it's going to be harder to spot the Hawks. It's going to be easier to spot the traps. The side of SMG, though, still going back in.
So much damage on the Febby. The IO gone as now mid one. They'll make the jump in. He still has that Aegis up though, at least for another 7 seconds. But they're gonna wait out that Aegis to expire, and instead try to get the real lives to terrorize. Oh, it's gonna land. Mid one, he just lost the Aegis, and they make the jump in. Perfect timing from TNC. But can they keep it up? Well, they've lost Yoe. It's a 1-for-1. They have also lost and it seems the Moon is dropping low now, but they keep going on to play hard. They might just find themselves a Dark Willow. Raging should eventually get there. Storm though, not going to be quite enough. But eventually they'll get it done. Moon able to pick up the kill, but here comes Young God now. But a great stomp in from Arthur, but it won't matter. Moon already being roared up, is going to drop at Raging. He's been left behind. He's only got Anchor Smash to spam out. He will try. It's only going to take him so far. And there goes Raging.
Man, that gem has changed hands so many times in the past few minutes. Back to SMG for a while, goes back to TNC. It is riding with TNC once more. Great fight coming out from TNC, great punch coming through. The patience to wait for that Aegis, the timing to get that right, to get that work. However, you do at least have mid one's Ags up, so he can kind of show up to these fights really fast once he starts dropping more of them on the map. And eventually, if he does go for the Shard as well, the silence is going to make it a bit tough for TNC to deal with as well. So I think, again, you have a way of dealing with a split push, to deal with the either relocate plays, to deal with the Beastmaster, to help the Overlord, just with the Ags up on mid one. He still has really good damage just with the Deso anyway. And he is going to go for the Daedalus Exo. Really just looking to tie in more damage out. And he is pretty much the only damage dealer on his team. I guess you could consider the DP, but that definitely is more sustained damage. They need to just instantly burst down, especially heavy. I think the IO is just causing speed issues and enabling that tiny. In fact,
some team fight here. Terrorized though, they've got one. Sonic Wave down, the PA dropping so darn low, and Rabbit is too late. Inward's already gone, and you're going to be lacking a lot of damage now, as Moon's going to try, but TNC are all over him. That'll be a Death Prophet gone. The brighter side, they do at least get play hard, but that's about all they're getting. They're to drop as well, but now Raiden's been left behind once again. That'll be 4 down as the last piece of the puzzle, and they're going to find Arfu. He'll run though with the axe up, getting that 3 BKB. The Young God's not giving up. He's gone all the way for this. They want the full team. They're going to get it. Wicked tip for Young God. And this is looking like a much better game now for TNC.
Oh yeah, they've really enabled this tiny core to just get what it wants, to be in the right spot at the right time. There's a double damage rune as well, sitting about rune spot, and Roshan might respawn fast. If TNC are really lucky, this game might
Radiant's middle tower
respawn. Easy Rosh with a tiny round. Let's see if they are that fortunate. Looks like Yoa does drop the bottle, setting up for Young God to pick it up. So they will have a huge damage boost coming in for SMG. And their big issue right now is that they don't have any protective items, Mike. No BKBs on hand yet, no Yules to dispel off the Curse Crown, the Bramble Maze, and it just makes it a lot harder for them to fight because they get feared up, they get rooted up, and they just get bursted down, especially Midwin. He needs that BKB for these next fights because without it, pretty much been a sitting duck. TNC has been very disciplined in jumping him first.
They have. TNC not in any rush. I mean, they're only about 50 seconds away from that Roshan timing. Of course, they don't know that, but guess. Hold on to that Radiant Triangle and wait it out. Play the much safer game. SMG, they're the ones who need to try and find a way into that next Roshan. You kind of give it away to TNC, and this game really starts to look a lot more difficult for SMG.
Tower is under attack.
Arcane rune to be found out as well here by Play Hard, so another little power rune here, this time around for the Quap.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, Roshan, 10 seconds away. TNC, they might start a fight earlier than that. Keep in mind, SMG, they do have the traps of Mid-1 to scout out that Roshan. They'll make the jump in though, on to Raging. Green Script is going to be there to save as the Ravage can't fly out. On the 3 heroes, they're trying to burst down this tiny, but Young God is just so darn tanky. He's going to walk away with the Shadow Blade out and walk right back in after Moon. Nightmare, it's only going to buy a tiny bit of time as now the Sonic Wave does come in. A great Ash was swapped out though, but Mid-1's unable to get the damage off. So Young God, he'll just keep moving in. On that time, he back in on the TA, and Mid-1, he just melts. Arfu, can you do it by yourself? There's no chance in hell. That'll be a 5-0 job. Young God, he is completely out of control now.
Yeah, I don't know if you have enough to even burst down to Tiny. He has so much armor. He's going to have the full AC coming in as well, Mike. He has 3.4k HP. With tricky tree armor, probably going to go up even more. That's a lot of physical resist, and most of your damage really is boiling down to your TA. She just doesn't have burst to deal with Young God, and yeah, they notice. They just rip through to tier 3 onto tier 4, forcing the buybacks out. That will make the TNC play back a bit more, but they can still clean up the racks and then go for the Roche. We aren't seeing the impact from SMG's build-up here. Like the Ags out from Mid-1, no split push has been happening. It's been constant fights. They're not playing slow here on TNC. They're playing to their timings. So this Ags first for Mid-1 is just not giving him enough. They will at least spot out the rush as it's happening. They don't really have the spells to play in there. No Ravage, no AoE control, not even Earth Splitters up, so they're just gonna have to surrender that to Young God as well, it looks like.
Go in for a bit more already. Trying to go after Roger. In fact, they've just let the dominated creeps take over. It's Aegis now to go the way of Young God. Just gotta ask yourself, how do you stop them now? Oh, Mid-1 is able to TP out in time. Scary times here for the TA, but able to make it out. So I've got to say, he desperately does need that BKB up to really be able to start fighting with his team properly. That is still a hell of a while away. It just doesn't seem like it's coming anytime soon. So TNC naturally will look for another high ground attempt.
Radiant's middle tower.
And I dare say with the Aegis up now, it's not going to be too difficult of a task. I don't think there's really much Young God to be afraid about. I mean, you look at the amount of damage he's taking right now. It's not really anything to really be that concerned about.
No. And it's coming in, it's just not really bursty, so Young God feels fairly secure in playing like this. I think one thing SMG can do is maybe consider split pushing on their end. With the TA Ags, like you can just look to shove a lane, go back for the defense, shove a lane again, go back. As long as you have the traps set around the map, and it looks like mid one might start doing that now. That should allow him to build into that BKB. A bigger point is the lack of protection on Moon as well. Every single time the Spirit Vessel flies on top of our Death Prophet, she tries to Spirit Siphon up, she just gets immediately blown down. So the build up into the Lotus Orb should help. I think a BKB might also be helpful, just straight up as well. Just more spell immunity, force some choices here.
Well, has he made it? Oh, he has. That was close. Very, very close. The Psionic projection just barely getting there in time.
You know, I still giggle at that spell, Mike, because you mouse over it, still says cooldown 30, the actual cooldown's 10. I don't know how. Ever since it says cooldown 30, but it's actually 10. It's like, it just allows the TA to go around all over the map, play the split push game, keep building up, rinse and repeat, and keep trying to stall to hit those item spikes. So SMG can just kind of play this game where they'll just kind of outlast your Aegis, keep trying to find farm where they can. They've got that protection now on mid one with the BKB, so at least he's not going to get immediately controlled up in these fights. It's going to force a choice out from Xiao Yu on the roar, so they've got to kind of temper themselves on that roar, use it on maybe when the BKBs fly in, and kind of refocus their targets there.
He's still grouped up as a team. Now, obviously, they're just looking for a pick-off here for somebody so they can go back high ground.
What?
Well, like you already mentioned, mid-one's been making it very hard with Psionic projection. So, it's kind of one of those things where it's... You want to brute force the high ground right now, and obviously the answer is just no. You at least want to pick off, but we've seen SMG in these positions before where they would hold out on the high ground over and over again until the opposing team just makes a mistake. And even with a 17k net worth advantage of TNC, they're not feeling confident enough to make that play.
They're just respecting the hold from SMG, respecting that there is a lot they can still do in these fights, especially in closed area like the high ground. Like those ramps are such a big choke point for Tide, for the Elder Titan to kind of make use of. They will go for a smoke play though, so they're going to try to sneak out here.
Will, like they just want to try to address that top lane. Lane though, the being pushed in here by Young Gods. Well, he just makes very short work of the tier 3 tower. While still respecting the damage up from the TA, but back in and just get back to work onto that mid-Rax. Maybe he can only heal him up so much. They do see the Tide Dome, the Silver Edge, they would try to break, but Raging, he's gonna be just fine. Ultimately, you get the tier 3 tower, but going after those mid-Rax is a bit of a different story. Go back for it. Young God, again, getting a bolt strike here by mid-one. Not near enough damage yet to really deal with this Tiny, so he does move in, but they have the halberd up. In fact, Young God now dropping quite low. With only about 25 seconds of time remaining, they won't try again, it seems.
Gonna play it safe, hold back, take control of the triangle. SMG still can't really dip outside of their base anyway. With 2 lanes missing their tier 3s, they're always gonna have to shove in. It's gonna be a slower process for SMG to keep building up, but they are building up in the one here that matters. You know, mid one is still finding out farm, still trying to go into Daedalus. Once that Daedalus is up, it might actually become fairly easy to try and crit down Young God. Like, he is still tanky up front. We have seen the slow chipping away from TA. Gets work. on that Tiny, so still something to be concerned about. The halberd usage as well has been on point here from Raging. As long as the Tiny's up, halberd off, becomes a lot harder for Young God to really do anything. There's nothing to stop that, so they are stalling quite nicely on SMG. TNC playing it safe. They know when SMG play like this, you're just looking for that opening. They're trying not to give any openings at all.
Certainly are. I mean, SMG keep holding that high ground in TNC. They might just be forced to wait for the next Roshan timing at this point. I mean, an 18k net worth advantage just means nothing because one team fight could throw all that in the garbage. But what does mean something, John, is that DD rune up the top lane.
Oh yes,
be very valuable right now for the side of TNC if they could find it, but there's no vision over it.
Yeah, would be even nicer closer to Roche spawn. So same situation for TNC. Take a fight with the DD, clear up Roshan real fast, maybe start going for those tier 4s after that sort of fight. Optimistically for TNC. We'll see. SMG again making great use of the Ags now on mid 1. Keeping this holdout happening. They've got some protection now on Moon as well. He's got the Lotus Orb up at the least, and a Ghost Scepter as well to protect from the Tiny damage, or at least the Tiny right clicks. So you do have some ways of keeping yourself up. There are a few more tools on TNC as well. They've got the Blink flying out for Xiao Yu, so Blink Roar could be the way they start these fights now. Build on top of that, get an easy pick off, and take the numbers advantage your way. Can be one angle now for TNC to go for. They're kind of slotted up on Young God. He's just going for the Swift Blink next. But once that's up, the Tiny becomes really hard to stop. Like, you will have to use your halberds properly. I'd say multiple halberds might help, like say a secondary halberd on someone like Afu might be able to give enough time. Like, that's a huge window where Young God won't be able to do much.
Under attack.
They keep trying to find a target to just pick off here, but Moon not giving them that opening either. TNC still yet to really get this started. But it has bought enough time now mid 1 to have the full Daedalus up. So you are starting to answer that damage issue that SMG has had over this game. I mean, how do you breach this high ground, John? Like, do you just brute force it with the next Aegis?
Yeah, you could try to be sneaky, smoke rotation in onto an open lane with no tier 3. Ideally top lane, smoke in, get a Hawk to scout, but there's a lot of sentries up. Have that lane shoved out by SMG. That's such a fast Roche. That's an instant spawn as well. No DD though, Mike. But that could be the next play for TNC. Either smoke play onto high ground or take Aegis. This time with the cheese and free Ags blessing. Could be big for TNC if they do manage to secure, or SMG if they manage to fight back. They have snuck out after lanes, but still no openings. Very safe from both sides, Mike. Very conservative. They know this is sort of a do or die moment for either team on this game.
Well, mid 1, he's finally been caught out. Young God will move in, but the Ravage is there raging, and now the Fiends with the hold down fighting, but they don't have the follow-up damage. They have already lost Raging and Roger, and it looks like Moon will drop as the third.
Boy.
No buyback available. That should really make it a lot easier now. It's very hard to see mid 1 being able to defend this on the DA. You do have a through with the actual stop, but they can only delay so much. TNC will move back into that tier 3 tower.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
And eventually should be able to secure Megas. So they do have to go back to that range, the top range tracks. And it looks like they'll do that right now. They've got plenty of time without Moon and Raging. No. SMG, yeah, not going to call us. Not quite yet, but they are up against Megas now.
This is a much tougher prospect now for SMG. Their wave clear isn't that high. Yeah, they just called a GG. Call. I think they realize they can't really handle the Tiny at this point with all the HP lightnings Young God has. He's just going to be able to do what he wants in the game. And SMG held on for a long time to go for a different build up here on mid 1, going for the Ags rush after Deso. I think might have caused some issues there because they lacked damage in the early game, and we didn't see that split push until the high ground was already taken. So they couldn't really leverage that earlier than they wanted to there and kind of counteract. split pushing Beastmaster or relocate plays. TNC managed to hold on really well. Like game one was again fairly close considering, even though it did look like it favored SMG towards the end. And TNC just manages to make it work. They go back to IO for Febby along with Young God Tiny, and despite Tiny not being popular in pause 1 post TI, it still does a lot of work. It still has a lot of EHP by late game, and they did manage to get that space out for Young God.
It was a bit of a slower climactic game number 2, but nevertheless TNC have forced to a game number 3, and we'll see if they can take number 3 after a very short break.
Yeah, one thing that I have enjoyed a lot about watching the play yesterday and today is just what they're bringing to the table draft-wise. We talked about how we wanted a little bit more diverse.
Dire team
drafted.
ban.
Alright guys, I know we probably lost this game.
Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
Quite
Radiant
consistently
team
that it's
ban.
really nice to be able to see something like that in a while.
And this is the game where TNC are like, okay, this time we're going to get that death profit.
Yeah.
We want to pick it up this time. SMG have had it games 1 and 2. They've won with it once. They've lost with it once. But maybe TNC
10
thinking
seconds
to
remaining.
perhaps round out their series with this. I doubt it'll slip through
5
to like the
seconds
last
remaining.
pick of the second phase. It'll be more likely to be banned out prior to that point. But never know. Anything can happen.
I like what they've been. I think SMG banning Tiny was a better idea here. Our first pick again. Maybe they do want another
Dire
Bane.
team pick.
Okay, you just can stop countering our Bane.
Radiant team pick.
Well, they'll just go co-op, which is
Of
honestly. It is counterable though. For how they want to do. Or maybe they have like a different idea. I think like Puck Queen is something that I see most
10
Puck
seconds
match up
remaining.
against it, but I haven't always. No one especially. He gets co-op like constantly.
5 seconds remaining.
and he just keeps picking Puck into it.
Radiant
And honestly,
team
like some
pick.
games he owns.
League's assassin.
I think I like Nyx a lot.
Yeah, and it goes for a lot more of that burst. I was kind of weighing up whether they would do something like Nyx or perhaps the Grimstroke, just something that's going to be able to lock one of these heroes in place. So the Nyx, it means that not that SMG will probably
10
wanting
seconds remaining.
lane, but it also just doing that. Obviously, one of the best
5
counters, the
seconds
likes of
remaining.
Ember and the Storm Spirit. Round this out, I mean, they do need to protect themselves a little bit from that tower push that SMG does like to do. Again, the relegation game still for TNC, so you don't want to get brooded. You don't want to get beastmastered as well, right? So whenever you pick an X-Assassin, that always needs to be at the back of your mind, and hopefully for their sake, they're not forgetting that.
Yeah, that's how the bans have like evolved. Like, NC had to ban the Lena because they didn't go away against it on mid, and SMG are now banning Tiny because, oh my god, how obnoxious. You guys can flex it not only to 4, but to carry? I don't want to deal with that.
10 seconds remaining.
And, well, we finally do see the Tidehunter come out for Xiao Yu. I've been
5
asking for it
seconds remaining.
this entire series, and they finally do pick it up for him. The question is SMG going to be able to respond to it with something that perhaps is going to beat him in lane? And if they do that, maybe they could go for that sort of flex with the Tidehunter perhaps being played in a support role instead. Seeing it a couple of times happen so that, that immediate lane counter isn't quite as impactful. Safe option and go for the Bane instead. Something that Roger obviously plays a lot.
10 seconds
They
remaining.
picked it up first phase all now. Only difference is this time
5
it was
seconds
second pick
remaining.
rather than the first.
I'm guessing they just didn't want to again to comfortable on this. Like you're warmed up like 2 again. Why change to something else? I like you were saying, Danog.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at mid one. His
Radiant team ban.
You were saying that like you don't want to get beastmastered and you don't want to get. I think the Tide, whilst great for Xiao Yu, was.
Dire team ban.
I think it's good. I'll be real, I was kind of hoping Roger would end up on a
Radiant team ban.
that or 3. Like, where I wanted to see his Bloodseeker or his anything else. Gyro, maybe. I just, yeah, it's Bane. Yeah, Bane's just good. What can you do?
Can't say anything more.
10
You
seconds
can't, but
remaining.
even just the Bane, it wasn't that effective against Febi's healing style of
Dire
heroes
team
either,
ban.
right? Like the IO. Tree and Protector, the Enfeeble
Radiant
does a good job
team
at being able
ban.
to gate a lot of that, but get a lot done. A lot of deaths in those first games for the Bane as we round out the second phase of bans. So we have to think really what is in the mindset of TNC. They're obviously wanting to take away some of these strong teamfight heroes because perhaps SMG
10
lacking that
seconds
a little
remaining.
bit in that stage of the game. They've also banned out one of the big lane counters for the Tidehunter
5
and the Monkey
seconds
King.
remaining.
Will they go further for that into the Ursa, or will they perhaps go something like
Or
a
the Baron
Drow?
maybe would be.
Yeah, Razor, or
Just-
some other kind of range, right, that's able to bully the
Radiant
Tidehunter
team
out of the
pick.
lane and make sure he's not having it as easy.
Dire team
Get
pick.
rid of
Puck.
Oh well,
just
see
wanted
the
to set
puck.
up for an easy lane. Yeah, fuck.
I was thinking one has been fast, and it's like stack
10 seconds remaining. Dire team pick.
Oh, it's also just like a hero that kind of deals with
Here we go. Might not see Roger heroes, but we'll see an after Earthshaker.
Yeah.
You love to
Oh, they
see
got
it.
banned last game.
It did. It did get banned last game, and you know, like you were mentioning before, with the Nightmare, not only is it great for setting Razor, but of course you just
remaining.
chain into stuns with the likes of the Earthshaker. Similar, like when Puck
5
was getting picked
seconds
all the
remaining.
time, it really did feel like Earthshaker was that hero that was able to respond to it. So as long as you're playing around that fog of war, you get that stun from the sidelines, and it gets even worse once you're able to pick up that Aghanim shard just for that chain lockdown where you don't need to be right in on top.
Have like block. A lot of damage. Like it's damage from Queen of Pain, right? But your two supports in the first like 50. Kind of like relying a lot on Queen of Pain. A lot of pressure on it to hit. And it's like rough, especially when you're playing into Tidehunter. Like last, or like even though the Tide was dying, it took so long. It took so long, even with Queen of Pain.
Yeah, I wonder how SMG are going to round out the rest of it. Because you've already picked a pretty decent lanes so far with the Queen of Pain and the Bane.
Radiant
like they're going to get a lot
team
out of it. And from what I've seen with whenever they've played this Earthshaker, it's basically like if Afu is able to get around a 13-minute Blink Dagger, they win. If it's anything later than 15 or 16 minutes, they lose. And it's all about that, you know, few extra minutes where you're able to consider maybe 1 or 2 Blink Echoes.
10 seconds remaining.
Punish the enemy team before they're able to pick up the BKBs, for
5
example,
seconds
and prevent you
remaining.
from punishing them. Something like a Beastmaster where you're able to play effectively around the lanes and push towers, take some of that map control away from TNC, might free up the Earth to perhaps be a little bit greedier, which we know is how SMG like to play.
If you are TNC, the best way to lock down stances.
Like, because the aren't like excessively.
Dire team
Probably
ban.
Enchantress.
Okay, that's cool.
Against the Beastmaster,
And
you
just
love that. Oh, that is a
Oh.
rough time as a Beastmaster for sure. I was thinking, you know, maybe they were going to go something uber defensive again, like an Abaddon, for example, just to make it so all these stuns really aren't that effective. But you've already got the
10
Tidehunter, of
seconds
course, with the
remaining.
Kraken Shell. You're not that worried. You don't really want to be chain stunning up a Nyx
5
Assassin. He's
seconds
very vulnerable
remaining.
to stun. But an Enchantress, I mean, I just talked about it,
Radiant
right? If
team
you make
ban.
Afu have not a great game, get a slow dagger because he has to stay babysitting Raging Potato, then it's going to be a lot of a rougher time for SMG. I love this enchantment.
I think both of these teams right now have made like a really narrowed down the character. They kind of both had decisions.
10
We take our
seconds
carry now
remaining.
before a bunch of carries get banned in the final ban phase, or
5 seconds remaining.
like SMG. If I line up right now, I think like a Luna is probably like a really great last pick for it. The fast tempo carry that works. Master Queen of Roshan, they can. TNC, they need something that can. Something like.
I think
PL
the Razor's
team
also
ban.
still fine for SMG. Right? Like,
Yeah.
you link up the Tide, you link up the
Radiant
Yench, you
team
don't
ban.
care. They have nothing that's going to pierce a BKB until
Yeah.
the Puck gets an Aghanim Scepter, so I think that's a totally viable pick.
Yeah, like PA is now banned. That was like my favored pick. I don't know what T counters their strat. It's kind of like deciding that now. Like we need a carry that
10
counters
seconds
us,
remaining.
and also I don't know. Ursa could something
5
that can
seconds
rough
remaining.
into it a little
Dire
bit just because
team
she can
pick.
X, but like side.
Radiant team
Actually
pick.
making it through that game.
Razor.
I'm happy with it. I would have been happy with
As
Luna
an
or
instant
Razor.
You may now
response, they
select
clearly saw
your
it coming,
heroes.
and we're going to get to see a young god Morphling. Shaker.
Nice one.
Alright guys, I know we
As long as you're
probably
not
lost
dying
this
from
game,
fog,
but we can
it's,
still
there's,
do
there's a
this.
lot of opportunity there, right?
Alright guys, I know we probably
from
lost this
fog.
game, but we can still do this.
And they're going to have the vision as well.
You're not
with the
selling me on this
Beastmaster.
morph.
I'm sorry.
It's good, and Young God is a really good player on the Morphling as well. The game is going to come down to how is that bottom lane going to go. Young God coming up against Afu. Raging Potato. You know, we're able to completely body out that Beastmaster. He's not going to be able to snowball. You're not going to be able to take that tower early on. Afu's not going to be able to rotate to get kills or to, you know, be a little bit greedier, stack jungle, take his own stacks, and get the early.
I think the and I think you might, you know, have a rough time into pack with Rav. I like to think TNC should come out of laning stage better and take advantage of that. If they fail to, if SMG get the ball rolling, I think
we'll do or die. Which team are you guys?
I'll go TNC.
The heart says TNC. You gotta give him a chance to again fight for that spot in tiebreakers.
I believe in them. Let's go TNC. Redemption arc.
All cheering for TNC here on the panel. Hopefully they can get it done in game number 3 as John and MLP are going to take it away.
Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in for our game number 3 between TNC and SMG. John, are we going to avoid guaranteed relegation here for TNC, or have SMG got this game 3?
No, I think it could go either way here. It looks fairly close from the draft. They've got the TNC special, not just Young God, but, you know, TNC as an org is known for their morph, their different iterations. Comes out here in this pivotal game. Keen to see how much Young God can bring out. I think the lane is pretty darn good, though. Like, Ench plus Morphling does have that healing dynamic. You can drop down full Agi, have the Ench kind of heal you up with her aura, and just... It's a bit of a slow process, but it can be done. So it can be a really defensive lane. It can be really aggressive if the Ench does find good creeps or just manages to use the boar as well. And I think that should be enough to secure Young God that start he needs. And if that Morphling can get off to a running start, it's not really counteracted by the Razor. Like, your Razor last pick here can't really sap away too much damage from Young God. He can just waveform out. So I think when it comes to the core-to-core matchup, it's much more sensitive for SMG to win that laning phase, to hit those early spikes, to start to get the ball rolling and snowball from there. We'll see, though. Early smokes from both sides here, Mike.
Look at this, Jonathan. I mean, look at the view we've got into this 5v5 team fight that could be breaking out if they do get the Nightmare onto probably the best target you asked for. They found Young God. He'll strength morph and try to run his way out with the link going. It's going to be very hard to get away from this, but he has somehow made it as Moon's the one to go down. Just want to go the way of TNC. Going though, they're trying to at least find something, but an Impel Playhard's going to mean a second kill to go the way of TNC now. As SMG are not looking good. Afu, he lands a very nice Fisher out, but nobody's dying. Mid one, he is the third one to drop, it seems, with SMG that will try to juke out, and he will be. A 3-for-1 trade. He's already out with the tips. Voice line's out as well. I mean, why the hell not? This is game 3 after all.
Yeah, that was so on the edge for Young God, and he just manages to walk out. Attribute shift, managing to do the work, even though it's just level 1. And TNC managed to play off the back of that really well. They just saw the smoke break first, they collapse into that point, and they get a lot out of it. So a great start for TNC already, showing us that spirit they need for this game, as we'll see the lanes break out here. Mike Moon on that quap down mid up against Yoe on his puck as well. There's been a lot of talk about Yoe's puck. We've seen it earlier in the season. We've seen it in different terms. Sometimes it does feel like it fall flat, but considering the improvements TNC has had, I expect, you know, the puck to be able to play here. The lane match isn't too bad as well. You've got ways to dodge out Moon's aggression, dodge the scream, dodge the shadow strike with that phase shift. So there's a lot Yoe can do to kind of push himself on the edge, and he also still has mobility to contest runes. It's going to be a very tight matchup on mid. I'd favor it slightly towards the puck. But again, you have to remember SMG with their heroes, with the Earthshaker from Afu, if he is allowed to rotate, that could be the deciding factor in this mid lane.
Find out soon, as we should have looked at the other lanes. Of course, bot lane as well. I mean, you've got Afu there against Febby right now, and of course Raging Potato on that Beastmaster against Young God on the Morphling. I really can't believe he got out of that situation earlier on, John, but he is still deathless right now on the Morph. Naturally for the Morphling, though, throughout the laning stage, you just want to hit that level 3 mark so you're more comfortable. I dare say, though, considering the matchup, it doesn't really feel like Young God has too much to be worried about here on this Morph.
Yeah, you can just hold the lane. The boards are going to be annoying. You can always attribute shift against it and kind of just use Febby with the enchant to steal it away. You should have a very manageable lane. We're already seeing Afu have to opt for the pull. So they're just going to try to get that still EXP going, and it does look like Afu is going to be stuck here, kind of babysitting. It's not going to be a very easy lane for Raging to manage on his own, so the Shaker's going to have to stick around a lot longer. In that case, Febby has a range advantage. Febby can get the slow off. Febby can try to make Afu burn a lot of resources to just stay here. And that does make it tougher for the Shaker to get those rotations towards mid that the panel is talking about. So I think overall TNC is a very good lane to play with. They just have to ensure Young God doesn't overextend, but beyond that, you should be able to find that farm here.
Last lane, the top lane, you've got Xiao Yu on the tide along with Playhard. Against mid one on the Razor and of course Roger once again on the Bane. It could be a very scary lane, I suppose, for TNC at this top lane because the Bane Razor, so plenty of setup for the static link, and naturally the right click damage does get pretty ridiculous from the Razor. So far though, TNC just keeping their distance away from mid one. But that is going to allow mid one to have some pretty free farm here in this top lane.
That is a cause of concern.
Link is going to be there, just a lot of damage being taken away here from Xiaoyu. On to play hard instead of mid one. You'll have plenty of damage to get rid of this Nyx assassin.
A prize.
And you're already off to a great start for the Razor at least. So kind of making up for that earlier death when they did take that early level 1 engagement. And the lane is, again, just very favorable. You're zoning out Xiaoyu. He only has 6 last hits to his name. The progression on the Tide's going to be a lot slower in this game. He is still gunning for Soul Ring into Hood of Defiance as you tend to, but there's really not much you can do against the Bane Razor combo. Like, Nightmare Static Link is just too strong. You can maybe have Playhard try to break it, but he's also a melee hero, so he's going to have to walk next to the Tide. That just takes it gives even more time for the Static Link to sap extra damage off, and I don't see any threat coming out to mid one, unless they do manage to cut him out. Maybe get a good stun off, chain stun with Spike Carapace on the plasma field. Easier said than done.
Certainly is.
Wait up.
Bot lane Raging. Slowed up here, but he will try to TP, so the stun will be there from Young God, but it does seem like they will be lacking the damage to get the job done. Meanwhile, mid, there is going to be a vicious stun out onto Yoe. He's lacking Orb right now, but it is going to come off cooldown, and the Yoe will be able to get away with his life intact. Keep in mind, John, he did get the water rune anyway, so even with the rotation out from Arfu, it just didn't really mean too much.
And he even gets salved up. So he's going to be a little bit more topped up. Moon is starting to work the lane a little bit better here, clearing out the wave. Emphasis on the Scream of Pain build here as well, going for a 0-2-3. So lots more wave clear, lots more sustain, although they'll catch him out.
What's going to be there? Still, they'll try to go back in to play hard, but it's only Roger, who does almost have enough damage, but not quite. Yoe, he'll keep moving onto the Bane, but eventually have to leave him be. Very close calls for both teams in this mid lane, but nobody ends up going down, surprisingly enough.
It's just forcing Griffin to play to the edge, and I think that emphasis from mid is starting to show. We saw that early rotation from Afu. We're seeing Playhard just stay in camp. Level 6s are starting to line up. I believe Moon should be able to have a slight advantage in that, but not by much. So you can kind of look for that Sonic Wave play down the line. They have managed to get a nice stack in the small camp. And you also have the same stack on SMG. So both sides are kind of enabled to do what they want. Raging is getting a long pull off, but he's low on HP here.
It's just so hard for the Beastmaster, and I think they talked about this on the panel, but going against an Enchantress like this is kind of the nightmare of Raging Potato, though Febby now going to be completely surrounded, but he does not give a crap. He'll just keep going onto Raging, but ultimately won't have enough damage to finish him off, so they do get a bit of sweet revenge here for Raging Potato. Problem is, John, that does cost you a 2 support rotation over to get that done. It is still a position 5 Enchantress. It's not really too big of a deal here for TNC.
Yeah, and that is giving space out for Young God to just handle lane. And with Febby gone, he can TP mid, refill the bottle, and they've got level 6 up on Yo. So they can place here.
Gonna try Roger. He's gonna get caught out. Another nice fit here from Arthur, but Roger is still dropping rather low. Sonic Wave is there now, but they've got the Dream Coil to lock them both down, and well, the Sonic Wave, it just wasn't anywhere near enough damage. So Arthur wants to just back off. Barely avoiding the impale there of Play Hard. In the end, they are still going to end up losing Rog.
And it's massive commitment for the support of SMG this time around. I don't think you mind too much, Febby. Playing tag with Afu. They could still try.
They've got the heal up. Yowie, though, he's not going to orb in. So I suppose seeing Roger around in the Bane just... It feels a little bit too scary to try and go back in after that shake-off. So leave him be. Accept the fact that this mid lane has gone pretty well for TNC, though. I say that. I mean, Moon is still top of the CS pool, so I suppose it's gone even better for SMG.
You're still finding what they want there, getting that build up they want on the Quap. I think overall, having all that emphasis on mid is opening up the safe lanes a lot more. When it comes down to it, the offlaners are the ones really hurting here, and in that sense, can kind of farm well, but the sensitive timings are in the Beastmaster, much more so than the Tide, right? Like that help, the Dominator has to come true for the push potential, the Overlord has to come out as well. Even then, you still have to constantly worry about Febby just counteracting your item with the enchant. So it's just really tough to get that slow start in Raging. You can see Febby giving the tips out, just knowing this is going to be a tough game for Raging, always getting the summons. When the Dominator's out, it feels like the might not be enough, although...
Yeah, they've got the Morphling, though. Young God not quick enough with the fingers there, so Raging Potato able to set up with Aurora, and that was more than enough with the help of Moon.
Under attack.
Nice pick off there for SMG, something that they desperately needed here down in the spot lane. Keep in mind, by the way, Jonathan, going back to...
tower is under attack.
I'm sure that was agony.
Heal us.
Gonna be fine, but Arfu, maybe not so much. On the Earthshaker, he is gonna drop. Young God able to rotate and get a bit of a revenge here onto Arfu. Raging, he's still gonna be just fine, though.
Bounty!
End up committing, but doesn't really get the chance. Thinking about the Sonic Wave, but no, he's not going to even bother.
A true nightmare.
Yeah, they just gave away a free kill. They didn't really run up with the Tide. Anchor Smash was available, might have secured him that kill. And SMG just get to run away with her tail stuck behind him. Still, I guess that is buying time here for TNC to get that build up on both cores. I think when it comes down to it, Morphling versus Razors, they're equal net worth in the early game. It does feel like the Razor might have more impact.
Denied.
Really hard to pin down Razor. He can run up, do what he wants, and scaling towards late game, he does need a lot more gold. They catch Febby again.
That they do, but a nice impel there from Play Hard to just force Moon back. So Febby, he might die, no, maybe not. In fact, Moon's the one in trouble. He'll blink out of there, though. In the meantime, Roger, he's been left behind as Febby. He survives throughout all this. It's one of those things as well with the Nyx Assassin vs. Quad matchup, John. That mana burn really hurts Moon, and he just lost all his mana in one mana burn.
Tower is under attack.
Yeah, he's got a ton of int growth, he's got a ton of int items. Catch Raging down bot though.
They have
Radiant's bottom tower.
Commit the roar to try and protect himself as the coil does wear off. Young God, he won't mind too much, I'm sure. They lost the tier 1 bot tower, which is a little bit annoying there for TNC, but I suppose at least you get the roar expected for really nothing.
You are starting to see from this movement, though, from the pressure coming out in Young God's lane and the space given out to mid one, the Razor is starting to get a bit of a clear item lead. So the BKB is going to be online a lot faster than that Linken's. That will give more presence for mid one, and I expect the Razor to actually take an early position in this game. Just look to play around his team, look to jump in early. SMG are already kind of trying to look for a smoke out here, but they miss on the opportunity on Young God as he TPs away. So the smoke's not going to lead to much. TNC playing in the top lane, getting Young God pushing that top tier one in exchange. That should give him some room to farm in the top lane as well, since they've got the forward wards. SMG just posturing towards mid. They've got the Beastmaster. They know they can swing for that objective if they want to, but Raging's pretty far from that fight.
He is. in though. I mean, moves around. Sonic Wave immediately committed out onto 2 supports. The Fisher does also land on Febby, but nobody dies. Everybody gets away as now a coil has been committed by Yoe, catching 2 into a great impale into the Ravage now. Moon, he's still going to try. Mid-1 somehow still alive as they get the Fiends rip off onto the puck. Mid-1, how are you still alive? Xiao Yu finally takes him out, but how much has it cost TNC? Oh, they threw everything at SMG, John, but it just wasn't enough.
That cost way too much for the side of TNC. Sure, you find a Razor, you're buying space out for the Morph, you're allowing SMG to start to build up in their other heroes. If we talked about off-use blink timing, or the panel really pointed that out, because of these kills piling up, eventually that blink's going to be up. You're going to have to watch Afu. His Earthshaker tends to dictate a lot of the games of SMG, and they managed to invade this triangle as well. So clearing out a lot of the economy being built up for TNC, and that does give them a nice lead now. 2k up, you are still kind of dead even with a Razor Morph, but your other heroes are starting to feel a lot more impactful, especially Raging versus Xiao Yu. Like, the Tide doesn't need much. I'm still looking for the Hood of Defiance. Down the line, you might consider the Blink or maybe the Ags build, depending on what you need here, but it does feel like you have a much more aggressive timing here from SMG. With a Beastmaster, with a Razor, these heroes are kind of ready to run and gun with the items they have on hand now.
T1 mid-tower now going to be the focus of SMG.
Radiant structures are fortified.
TNC try to defend, but it's very hard against the Beastmaster.
Where are you going?
Moon does move back in with Raging, and they'll get it done eventually. Very hard, he does reveal himself there, but won't get punished. Meanwhile, towards the south, they do find at least the enchanted creep, so they might be able to take that out. No jump on any heroes though. SMG, they might just be very satisfied with the fact that that tier 1 basically went down for no real cost.
Bottom tower is under attack.
They'll walk away with that.
I mean, you're fine. You're not trading anything away. You might want to find a couple of pickoffs, but you're still getting more objectives on the map, shutting down that bot jungle, forcing a Young God to play predictably up top and in his triangle, which isn't the safest position anymore, especially with the presence of all the Hogs of Raging. They have been able to burn a lot of them down, but that's still a lot more info for SMG to build themselves around. They are making moves onto mid-1. It is only play hard. I mean, he's got the presence of Xiao Yu, but he's pretty far back, and mid-1's fairly tanky, even without the full BKB. Just the Ogre Axe, Falcon Blade gives him a lot of HP to play with.
They're going to spot out Xiao Yu there with the Plasma Field, but they know they can't really deal with the Tide, so instead they'll go on to play hard. With Moon there, they might be able to at least set up for an easy Nyx Assassin kill, but he's going to pop the Spike Carapace, still mid-1. Able to get the Static Link off and play hard. Eventually drop here to Moon, and well, he'll make it as hard as possible, but he has no choice in the matter. He does have to die eventually.
It's a simple pick-off for the side of SMG. Not the biggest one to take. The time being bought out here for TNC is being used well. The Young God does have his Lincolns flying out. You are a bit more protected on the Morph. We've got to see more flow into that here. It's not ready to go yet. You do have the Blink up on Yoe, so you've got some initiation on hand. A bigger Dream Portals to come out and a lot more Slippery to pin down. Yeah, you might really have to consider just using the Roar on that puck or the Grip, either or, to kind of hold her down, and that can complicate things, especially if those spells are in cooldown. So we'll see if TNC play around that Blink and start to be aggressive around it, but for now, again, it looks like they're just satisfied to play this farm war.
Maybe go for a bit of a chase here into Roger. Young God will be there, but only really has the Lincolns to play with, so not much in the way of the control of damage department. Be just fine. Mid lane, another bit of a group up. They are still just trying to chase down Roger. Impale is eventually going to land. Roger, however, is still alive as Moon does jump in, and Yoe, he ends up going down mid lane in the river as mid-1 will keep going on to play hard. TNC, I mean, they're dropping like flies across the map here. Yoe goes first, and play hard soon follows, and Raging, he'll go right into the Roshan pit.
And that was a very scattered fight for TNC. Yoe was kind of playing tag with a Beastmaster, got solo with Roar committed. Didn't really manage to use that Blink out with a Phase Shift, so he gets punished for it. And the Rosh might not be the fastest, but it's still a Beastmaster with the Aura, with a Bolt. with the Overlord up, Dominator up at the least, so you can get this done. Side of TNC should be aware it's happening. They've got the Ravage, they've got the Dream, well, they don't have the Dream Coral, but they can't make it in time, and that's a big win for SMG. 4K lead up, they can force these fights now.
They should have let him go and start on to Febby to try to heal himself up. Now the Ravage comes in. TNC will try to fight from behind ground to a great impale, but the Afu's in, and he just wipes them out. Xiao Yu, well, he's going to try to run, but there's no running. Oh, what a blink echo in from Afu. He just turns it completely for SMG.
Well, we were just talking about that Shaker being enabled by all the kills he was finding earlier, and I said it, you know, when Afu has that blink, he dictates these fights, so it looked like a good counter initiation from TNC with a Ravage, with a double impale, but Afu just turns it on its head, and they might find more.
They may, but Young God, he did get the strength morph off in time. Afu looking for the cancellation, is barely going to be able to get it. Meanwhile, I mean, mid one, he's going to stay going for Yoe, but he is dropping right along the Razor. Playhan and Xiao Yu going to try and just take down this Razor Aegis, but mid one, he's still alive. He finally drops the first slug. Yoe and Xiao Yu, we'll see what they can get done here, but there's going to be a Fisher back in onto the puck as Yoe is still trying to find a way out, but the Nightmare going to hold him down, and Moon does get the job done. Into the two mid tower they go. Very hard to expect a defense out of TNT as now Febby's dropping low and mid. Will happily take another kill for himself if he can. A great Fisher in again from Afu. Xiao Yu now, well, he'll be another target. Why not?
Oh man.
Radiant's middle tower
SMG.
is under attack.
You're just starting to run down. They hit their item spikes. We've got the Overlord running on Raging. This Black Dragon's just doing so much. That burn damage from the Fireball is not to be underestimated. Short work of the heroes at this point in the game, and even if they lose Aegis, there's nothing to stop them. Like they can just get this push going. Although
middle tower
Roger,
is under attack.
Roger. Well, he's going to try and salvage something out of this, but no Dream Coil available is going to make it rather hard.
My waters rise.
Keep in mind, Echo's back up in 20. You've got the Roar back up Raging in just a second. As Febby again, going to be targeted first. Yoe, he'll commit the coil and try to allow some opening here for TNC to go for the fight, but it's not really working out as Yoe now is being chased down. SMG, still very patient. His ulti's ready. That big initiation. There you go, Moon. He'll get the team fight started. On to play hard. They want that next set. Fisher will land. Oh, they found Yoe again. Ravage is there. Xiao Yu, he's going to try and turn this one around as Raging does drop. Boomy pulls up the Morphin and they've got the Finch grip. Oh, Young wants to drop. It is not looking too flash hot for TNC. It's Febby, he will be the fourth to go down, and Xiao Yu's the last piece of the puzzle. They don't even need it, John. They've seen, and they're happy with
middle
it.
tower is under attack.
Yep. They get all the kills they want, opening up another push opportunity. Again, they don't really mind that Aegis is gone. They know they're just so durable at this point. There's not much damage coming through here from TNC to follow up on the Ravage. Ready into Morphling. E-Blades, the build-up here for Young God, still a ways off from that Eagle song. Your puck doesn't really have burst damage on hand with a blink build-up. The Ags is going to be coming out for Yoa next, so again, emphasis on control from puck rather than on bursting these heroes down. But there's just no follow-up for that control. That's the key issue for TNC right now. They need to give Young God some room to farm up. There's just not much room left on the map. They've been forced to respond to SMG's aggression, and that's just preventing any sort of... So we'll see if TNC can relieve that pressure, but it won't.
Fish around Afu. Able to control, get another. SMG, they are just steamrolling over TNC now, as it just seems like they are well and truly online, but Moon, bot lane, does get caught out with a coil. Impale will land, but he's got the invis and... Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
No detection, John. Just play hard now. Gonna be chased down here by Moon, and... Well, play hard. Well, they have detection for him. So he'll have to learn the hard way. He does land an impale, but it means nothing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to the side of TNC, it's not like there's anything that is naturally invis from SMG's side, so TNC probably not expecting a random Invis rune to beat that impact. The lack of sentries is kind of concerning, especially since you have a Nyx, but sometimes you just don't have them on hand. While that happened, push did come out top. Top tier 1 was taken out. Even more room for SMG to play around that triangle area here, Mike, and they've just prevented TNC from going outside their high ground now. They're kind of stuck to the confines, to the entrance of their base here. They're not farming, they're not building up. 12k lead for SMG, and that just set to pile up if TNC can't access their own jungle. We're only 22 minutes in game, but the map's already very small here for the side of TNC.
That it certainly is, John, but they're going to try and smoke up and make something out of this.
Dire are scanning.
5-man smoke from TNC to try and get something. To that triangle, they'll make their way over. They go Ravages there, Xiao Yu right up to mid-one with the Fisher, putting the stop to all this, now the Sonic Wave landing on 3 targets, they can't kill him! Mid-one's alive, Fiend's Grip is there, they've got the Morphling again, that'll be Young God's drop. Oh, they just keep doing it, John. They throw everything but the kitchen sink, but nothing's working. What are they liking at this point? Just damage?
It's a burst damage. Like, you saw how little was left for mid one. It's just not enough coming through from your Morphling. They're forced to fight out without this E-Blade on the Morphin. This because they lost that fight. High ground's open. No Supreme Coil, no Ravage, no Ags on Nyx, and you can't just stand there like a turret and kind of get some control off. Mid rack set to fall. Bot and top are still protected by the tier 2s, so mega creeps, but that's a massive blow to TNC. This opens up a lot for SMG because mid lane's always going to be shoved in. They can keep playing around the bottom side of the map, keep playing on the opposite side of the river of their own base, and keep denying TNC that build-up. TNC, they're under some pressure here to really hit that E-Blade timing. And even after that, Young God's going to need an additional piece of defense. Like the BKB has to be there with the Lincolns, just because there's so much more control in a wide AoE that doesn't really care for that Lincolns, and there's so many spells to break the Lincolns anyway. They can use Nightmare to enable Grip, they can use the Enfeeble to enable Grip and Aurora. It's just really easy for them to kind of eat through that protection in Young God and just get bursted down in these fights.
Oh, he's been caught out this time, surely. Impel's there, but again, the damage is just so lacking as Xiao Yu and the fish around, catching up 3 targets. Xiao Yu, he will just melt to the damage of mid-one as now the Rock comes in. Young God, he's trapped up. They'll force him forward, but it's not going to be enough. He's another target going down. 4 for nothing. I mean, it's just such domination from SMG. TNC just seems like they've got no chance.
It feels like they've really missed out on a couple of key timings. I think getting the fight stat like that earlier on just cost them a lot. Like, they had pretty decent lanes coming out, but not enough to overwhelm. Look at this positioning right now. Afu still has the Echo Slam back up, so it's just hiding. He's waiting for that opportunity.
Moon, he's in, but he's just hitting every time. He has no fear of dying this swap. More than happy to just give the openings to his team to reinitiate this fight. Febby. Too much he can do on the Enchantress right now, but just tank damage. That link is there, Febby. Oh, just look how fast he drops. Coil, no. Fiend's Grip just way too quick. Ravage is out now, but it's all too late. Moves with the BKB off the mid-one. He is happy to oblige with Xiao Yu to drop it. GG's been called. He cannot do it. He will take it 2-1 over TNC Predator. It was a very, very dominant game, let me tell you, John.
And it was. TNC, it looked really good, especially since, you know, they had these lanes that were kind of working out for them. They had the Enchantress to counteract the Beastmaster. They just couldn't hit some early item buildups that they really needed. The E-Blade just never came out for Young God. If you look at this buildup, he ended up with Lincoln's Power Tread, a Circlet, and the Ghost Scepter. Like, the full E-Blade never came in, the burst damage never came through. SMG had this lineup that really was just looking to run at you. Maybe the Shaker could be argued to be a bit greedy. There was always that potential that the panel pointed out where if he's forced to babysit Raging, the blink timing would be stalled out. Didn't matter because SMG kept taking these good fights and Afu was always around to set it up, so he snowballed from that, still hit the blink timing, and they just ran in. I think there were several factors there for TNC. So much single target control from SMG with Roar and Grip once those level 6s were up. One Lincoln's is just not enough to cover that for Young God, and because he went for such a defensive item to start with when they were already losing a lot of the map, his farm wasn't accelerating, and again, his timing's there.
Very tough time here for TNC, but for SMG, of course, another great day. With that, though, John, that is it for you and I, but we do still have our lovely panel to break down everything that happened in this Game 3. We'll head to a short break, and right after that break, we'll be back with our lovely panel.